Right.
That's the best part.
Oh.
You're ready.
You're ready.
Okay.
Check.
Are you ready in the video room?
I got the Zoom right here.
Hey, good, all
Do we
right.
have Zoom today? That's great.
We were on.
We
the
have
page.
now a different thing in the
They just
screen.
screen is, yeah, we have this. What's behind you? We have that still.
How do we get back to the regular?
Sorry.
That's all right.
I do go to.
There we
well, that's
go.
why I didn't
And now we
your-
just have to make
you
that
ever get a
bigger.
copy of your
What?
public records or something? If you don't, I have it on my phone. I just
No.
It's gone now.
I mean, I still have it on my computer.
Well, you'll describe what's different in the blue folder.
Who will?
A little bit.
So you're
No,
not
but-
looking for someone who knows how to get around all that.
Not too much though.
I'm part
No,
of the
not too
Morale
much.
House. That was your agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to click on each of these minutes.
Can somebody check to see if in fact Austin was on council 2007? I think he was.
I think he was too, because Christian had 8 years and it's 2023, and that will put it back to 2015.
I don't know if they know where our mics are on. There we go.
Oh, we're back.
It's fine, we're back.
Can you ask Johnny maybe to look it up?
He's up at Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame.
Well, you know, who would know? Lowenstein.
We're not talking.
We're back to the screen that I don't want to.
Well, what's the first thing that you click on? Anything over here? Just to get the first page so they show up. No, that's that.
What was it, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I
right.
didn't bring those documents.
I
Oh,
know.
okay, well, we blue foldered us.
Mhm.
I know, I didn't print them, but I mean, I brought the
Yep.
letter, undated,
That's the second time
I
I've
did
heard
check
that
to
from
see if she
him.
was with the
Two
Historical
different
Society,
occasions.
and she is. Um, Christina.
Oh, yeah, she is. She's on public art.
All right, let's see.
2008 or 2007?
2007?
Okay. Oh, we'll find out. Are you guys ready?
We're getting there.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no rush.
How many different committees are you on? 'Cause I logged on to YouTube the other night in the Redondo.
I'm just on the charter review.
Okay.
Well, how does it, how do you put down instructions for when you start? Yeah, nothing to do. That's basically.
That's nice.
I don't know if you do.
If you're in the charter and it's proposed that you voted on, there are 2 openings in budget and finance. You know, that's what you wanted originally, so I'm just telling you
Thanks.
there. If you want it, now's a good time to grab
Gotta
it.
make it work.
Right now.
That way they don't have to pay some, they don't have to hire some.
I'm a little concerned.
Okay,
I'm
well,
interested.
I'm just mentioning it to you.
But thank you, I appreciate that.
But Eugene just left there, so there's, my son was on it, so I know it's all about it.
How long was he on it for?
3 years? Then he moved.
He was fine.
Okay.
Smart kid.
He was there with, Eugene.
But how did he last so long?
He was vice chairman for a while, too. Don asked him, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
happened there.
Yeah, I like Don.
Don't know what happened to him. The audio guys ready?
See if I get my button to work over here.
There we go. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at approximately 7:07 PM for the regular meeting of the Historical Commission on April 19th, 2023. Can we get a roll call for our quorum?
Yes. Commissioner Collin,
Here.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Present.
Chairperson Morocco,
Here.
Commissioner Worstadt,
Here.
Commissioner Zaremski.
Here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, and if we can stand for the salute to the flag, and Commissioner Fernandez, if you can lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and if you can take a seat. The first order of business is to approve the order of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is that Commissioner Zaremski that made the second?
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any public comment on it?
No public comments at this time.
Okay, then all those, it's been moved and second to approve the order agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, that, the agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the blue folder items, the additional backup material. So as far as I can see, there are two blue folder items for tonight. One relates to a statement of, I want to say budgets, or it's financial accounts related to historical problems, item J1. And the second, now it's not pulling it up for me. The second is the item, I believe it's thank you. J4, discussion, it's a lease agreement and some other documents related to the Historical Society operating the Morrell House. Is there a motion to receive and file those items?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? Okay, then, thank you. So it's been moved and second to receive and file the blue folder item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so the blue folder items are received again in J1 and J4. Now we go to the consent calendar. There are 3 items on the consent calendar: an affidavit for posting, approval of the following minutes: January 18th, 2023, February 15th, 2023, March 15th, 2023, and then the Albert P. Arizmendez Moments in Redondo Beach History. Does any member want to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, I'm going to pull items F2 and items F3. So what we are left with is items F1 for the affidavit of posting. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar item F1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the affidavit for posting. Any public comment?
Your public comments at this time.
Okay, all those in favor of approving item F1 as the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, that's approved. Then we get to the excluded consent calendar items. I pulled off item F2 and F3. I think F3 is easier to start with, and that is the Albert P. Arizmendez Moment of History. So as you may recall, in the March meeting, we had a moment of history related to the beach club that was down in Riviera Village. I didn't see that getting carried over, and there was no action on it the last time. So that's one moment in history. The other moment of history was courtesy of our liaison, who attached a copy of the Red Car article. So I think for our moment of history, we can essentially approve or receive and file the March moment of history that was published in the March minutes, March agenda packet, and as well as the Red Car article that's pages 64 to 68 in the agenda packet. Can I get a motion for that?
So motion.
Motion to approve?
No, motion to receive and file.
Oh, to receive and file, so moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, any public discussion? Okay,
Public comments at this time.
thank you. All those in favor of receiving and filing the Albert P. Arizmendez Moment in Redondo Beach History, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, that's received. I also pulled out the minutes, and I would like to separate out the 3 items: the January 18th, 2023 minutes, the February 15th, 2023 minutes, and the March 15th, 2023 minutes, each as a separate item. So I don't think I need a motion to do that, but I would like to look at the January 18th, 2023 minutes. Is there any discussion on that?
Nope.
Okay, any public comment?
Your public comments at this time.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving and filing the January 18th, 2023 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, those are received and filed. Now let's get to the February 15th, 2023 minutes, and I am going to actually recommend that we decline approving those minutes for February. These are not minutes as you would normally expect to see minutes, but they're extremely detailed notes about the process, and it doesn't really, and I think Commissioner Warstadt mentioned there was something improper about it. So on her comments, but I think it's because they're detailed notes and they really aren't minutes. Robert says that the minutes should contain mainly what was done at the meeting, not what was said by the members. Sturgis, who also has a parliamentary procedure, says, in general, minutes are a record of all actions and all procedures. And I think while they're great notes and would be a good addition to whatever topic we end up discussing, perhaps it should be cumulatively added to a staff report item, since this is not the first time we've actually had it. There's inappropriate context, lack of context in there. There's issues with regards to, for example, the introduction. I usually start off a meeting with the purpose of the commission. I didn't do that today. Normally it just says, Chairperson Morocco said, it went over the purpose. This one actually wrote out the whole purpose of it. So I think that they need to be redone, and I'm willing to do that, but I need you to basically say that you will not approve that today for February. Any discussion?
So if we don't approve the minutes of February 15th, then at the next meeting, you'll come back with proposed minutes of the February 15th meeting?
Yes, and it'll be consistent with what, like, for how the council presents its minutes when it has something going on.
Okay.
I don't think this is representative of what minutes should be, and so that's why I'm suggesting that we not approve it today, but instead deal with it in the next meeting.
Okay. Well, that would be my motion.
To deny and defer.
And then to bring them back at the next meeting, and you'll prepare the minutes for approval at our next meeting.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Warstadt, is there any further discussion? Any public comment? Okay, and we'll take a vote on it. All those in favor of denying the approval of the February minutes today, and I will come back with the minutes for the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so that deals with the February minutes. Now let's talk about the March minutes. There is one piece on the March minutes that that concerns me, and there's a second piece that we need to figure out if that's how we want to proceed. So the first thing I noticed on the March minutes is that it says that I called this meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. and we were adjourned at 7:05. I have a text message from Jonathan Cullen telling me that Commissioner Cullen was on his way, and that was about 7:09. So I think we started around 7:15. So the minutes should reflect that's when we start. The problem was that the taped recording of it cut off the first part of our meeting. So, but I do have a text that supports it. So that's the first thing. If we started at 7:15, we ended at 7:20. And then if you look at, so in summary, what happened at the meeting, we didn't have a quorum. Commissioner Cullen agreed to come down for one item because he was busy working on a brief. We rearranged the schedule, and as soon as he left, the meeting was over because we didn't have a quorum. So the way it's presented is there's a whole bunch of stuff in between that talks about consent calendar, no discussion, excluded consent calendar, no discussion, all the way down the list. And since we didn't discuss it, it probably shouldn't be in the minutes. But I'll leave that to you to decide how you want to deal with the fact that we don't have a quorum. And that raises the question, if we didn't have a quorum to discuss those items at that point in time, whether they should be coming back to us on today's meeting agenda as being, since we didn't discuss it at all. So I'm other than the changing the time, I do want to hear from you all how you want to deal with the fact that our meeting ended and we didn't actually discuss anything, but we didn't actually carry it over to today's agenda.
If anything.
Okay, I'm not hearing anything.
Well,
I mean-
all I can say is that the reason why I couldn't stay was because I was working on the supplemental brief for Mayor Brand's case that needed to get filed with the Court of Appeal on the Supreme Court remand. So, I mean, that's why.
I'm appreciative of you being here, so I don't have a problem with that. I will then make the motion that we approve the March minutes with the fact that it was called to order at 7:15 and was adjourned at 7:20, and then strike out everything that was not actually talked about or even brought up, which is, I believe, items F, the consent calendar, all the way down to K, item K. Because again, I don't think that's reflective of what we did at the meeting.
So only J4 was voted on?
Only J4 was, the blue folder items were accepted in J4.
Okay.
That's my motion. Okay,
Second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Okay, any public comment? Okay, all those in favor of making those changes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so thank you. I did have one question for Chair Margolis, and that is with regards to the minutes. I know you mentioned at one point we didn't have January minutes because they hadn't been reviewed. So I assume if you put these in the packet for us for our meeting that you've actually reviewed it?
No, I think because we didn't have them.
I think you said that you hadn't reviewed it yet, because I asked you directly, why don't we have the January minutes?
So what's the question?
So if it's
No,
in
they
the,
haven't been reviewed.
if it's in the packet, you've reviewed it?
No,
So it's just raw minutes?
yes.
Okay. No editorials or checking on anything like that? And the reason I'm asking is one of the people that we adjourned in favor of was completely, her name was completely misspelled. But when I bring back the February minutes, it'll deal with that. So I just,
The only thing that I think I edited was the very beginning, if they didn't have a staff name.
okay. So again, if we see it in here, that means that you've actually at least looked at it and,
No,
okay, can't even assume that.
right.
Okay, so these are, everything's raw minutes, so then I guess what we did would have been appropriate. Okay, great. That moves us on to, I think, out of the excluded consent calendar items, and now we're on to public participation of non-agenda items. This section's intended to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear in this agenda for action. The section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. Do we have any written requests?
Zero written request at this time.
Do we have anybody on Zoom? Do we have any comments?
Early comment at this time?
Okay, so now we look to you. Do you want to talk to us at all or tell us a little bit about yourself? You have 3 minutes if you wanted to tell us, like where you're going to go to college next year or whatever, something like that. That's your choice. I mean, we're not putting any pressure, but we love having guests and we love hearing people's stories. So if you want to, great. If you don't worry about it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was wondering what minutes.
Would you want to come up to the microphone so we can actually hear it? And we don't want to put you on the spot, but
I was wondering what minutes were.
was what?
Minutes?
Well, minutes are basically a record of what we do in our meetings. So before the age of video, for example, the notes of what went on at the meetings would have to be presented somehow. Now we actually have video that accommodates similar to that. So the point we're making on the minutes is you don't need to have a whole detailed thing. It should just basically be this item came up, this was the vote, the action that was taken on it. If somebody like you made a comment, we'd put that in the record so that there at least would be a record of that. But the whole discussion going back and forth is probably not necessary. And if you wanted to look at the minutes that we had in the packet versus what happened in the city council yesterday, you can actually see some of the differences. But it's a record of what we
Just
do.
a fancy word for notes.
And the thing that you can also do is the city actually maintains a record of all the minutes. Our commission goes back into the 60s. So you can actually look it up and you can see any of the commissions, what actions they did. You can see the city council, what actions. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about came from the city council record. So it's something that's available. But thank you for asking. And you're welcome to ask on any of the other items that come up too. We're always happy to hear from you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we don't have any other public participation? Okay. So we're done with that item. Items continued from previous agendas. And that is the discussion and possible action of the draft strategic plan for the Redondo Beach Historical Museum. We've had multiple meetings on this topic, and I do want to thank Mr. Margolis for putting together I think a very ambitious plan, and we've had discussions and things that we would want to do. But given that we are down 2 members, and I believe your position, Commissioner Zaremski, is up for reappointment at the end of this time. So I'm going to suggest that we actually table the item to a future date when we get back to full strength, because it doesn't make sense to have 2 people that are going to, we need their buy-in as well. So that's my motion. Is there a second? Okay, and the discussion? Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Did you have any questions? No? Okay. While they're looking for it, I would encourage all of you to look over the strategic plan and start thinking about things that you may want to add, keep, change, whatever, so that we can, when it does come back up, we can at least have a robust discussion and see if we can actually get one approved. Okay.
Hello, my name is Tony Trutenich Jr., and I actually watched all of your commission meetings and love Redondo history. Wanted to say that I reached out about 4 times over the past year expressing a strong desire to volunteer at the museum, but nobody ever getting back to me at every meeting. I keep listening to the commission complaining about having nobody to volunteer. I did make a 12-video set series on YouTube under the name Redondo Beach History. I consider myself a true Redondo Beach historian, especially the years between 1890 and 1940. So I am here if you need me. Thanks. Tony T. Jr. Old Tony.
Okay. So we've actually tried to reach out to him to do an event at the museum.
You know this guy?
What?
You know who he is?
Yes, we do. His videos are actually outstanding. He does a really good job in presenting the history. I recall the Hotel Redondo one that he dresses up in costume. He's very knowledgeable. We tried to reach out to him to actually have an event last year where he's got a mobile van of material. So I'll reach out to him again to see if he wants to come. Maybe a good thing to do on the day that we do the Cesar Hernandez Day, to have him in the parking lot over there. He's extremely knowledgeable. He's researched it. I think he even has a trivia game on this stuff. So I'll reach out to him unless you want to reach out to him.
You can if you'd
Yeah.
like.
And
Yeah.
if he wants to volunteer, he needs to go through the city's process. There's a,
Sure,
an
sure.
application and there's a whole.
True. yeah.
Fingerprinting
Yeah,
and.
life scan, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
everybody else.
is there some type of,
Analysis.
do you think that he's receiving your messages?
He was for a while. I don't know if he's recent, I haven't received anything from him, but he used to pop up every now and then with the communication and I respond to him.
Well, I guess since he's probably listening right now, maybe you could just say, please reach out with your phone number.
Or he can come, well, I think he lives on the hill, but he can come down here and we'll be here based on this agenda for a while.
Very valuable.
Yeah, I think his videos are outstanding. If you guys really want to enjoy presentation, he's a good storyteller.
If he hears us, he could go on Zoom.
What?
If he hears us, he can go on Zoom and we can get him live, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Tony.
I don't know how that works because I've never been successful. But in any event, is that the only comment we got? Okay, so that's the only comment. So all those in favor of tabling this indefinitely until we get more people on the commission, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so this is tabled indefinitely. We need to bring this back at some point. Okay, so now we move on to the next item of business, which is item I2, discuss and provide input on the city's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget for museum expenses and projects. And I think this is from the last one that you were leading this one, Mr. Fernandez, Commissioner Fernandez?
In terms of the budget?
In terms of the budget, I don't know what the process is. Well, why don't we start off with the report from Mr. Margolis? If there is a report, I don't think there was in the
It was in the
minute.
blue folder items.
Well, the blue folder item came in as J1, that's my confusion right now. If it came in as J1, we probably should bring it up in I2.
The financial report is under J1 because it was intended to be part of the committee reports. The
Okay.
Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, well, we still need to discuss items that we need in the budget, but I would refer to the blue folder item with regards to how much is in the account. And according to this item, there's $17,809.35 that is available. We allocated $6,000 last month to the Path of History. So I believe the amount that we're dealing with is $11,809.35. That sound right?
Correct.
Okay. So what that means is when we're having this discussion about next year's budget, and I don't know what the timetable is, but usually around this time they're already in full swing. Do you know if Mr. Margolis, do you know if they've actually had the workshops yet?
I haven't heard anything.
No, they were just doing a mid-year budget review on Tuesday night. That's how far back they are.
Okay, well, what it does do is give us an opportunity to discuss, since we do have a lot more money than we thought, we can discuss the things that we want to put in the next year's budget. And since we do have free available funds, we can probably even discuss that we want to spend it this year as opposed to next year's budget. So like, for example, the computer system that Commissioner Cullen raises all the time, we may be able to say we want to spend $2,000 on a computer and have it come out of this year's budget. And if we don't get it by the end of this year's budget, have it part of next year's budget. So why don't you lead us in the discussion of.
Sure. Yeah, we do seem to have some funds that are allocated to us in this budget. I've left over about $11,000. Does anyone have any burning desires that we'd like to use those funds for?
Are we going to be spending any of the money for the 135-year celebration on the 29th of this month?
I was looking through the minutes on that, and I thought we had a meeting where we said we were doing $200 at a minimum for each of the projected items that were set up in that November meeting. But we can do that if we want to today.
Okay.
And obviously you have your event coming up in June that we need to figure out as well as far as that goes, and maybe even get a regular budget item on it.
Well, that's free. I mean, if we
Okay, well,
borrow the easels, the rest of it is free.
Do you still want a tent?
That would be nice, yeah.
It's gonna cost money.
Can you rent it instead of buying it?
Well, of course you can.
Oh, well then let's just rent it. We don't, I mean, we use it.
It costs money to rent it.
Okay.
so anything that you, the computer is one that seems to go there all the time. So we should probably put that in there. Probably a scanner as well. And we should probably put a dollar amount next to it. So again, if we all of a sudden realize that we want to spend it this year from whatever money we have, we should be able to do that.
Yeah. Are there requirements that we have to adhere to for any sort of computer system, or are we allowed to just go buy a computer?
Well, we've had that discussion for a while, and actually, that's my question to you ultimately, is what's your role with regards to our needs to expend money? What do you see your role as far as that goes?
To report to the director.
Okay,
But I mean, I don't think that if you have the money, that there would be any problem in the director.
oh, your mic's not on.
I don't see a problem in the director approving your recommendations if you have the money.
Okay.
All right, so
So you
we've
think-
got a computer that we'd, and a scanner that we'd recommend.
Right, so let's put a dollar number next to it.
Why don't we say $1,500 and just get top of the line, right?
Or you can say not to exceed
Not to exceed $1,500. How's
for the
that?
computer,
Yeah.
for the monitor.
Computer,
scanner?
scanner, then printer.
Okay, are you making notes of this? Okay,
It'll be in the minutes.
okay, but I think we might need to raise it to 2,000 now for that.
Okay, well then,
I think
yeah.
I'm fine with 2,000.
Okay, and when we get to the point where we're agreeing that should be our budget request, we should also make a vote.
Yes.
That we can spend the money this year.
Is this how you want to spend the money that you already have, or you're going to request this money for the next fiscal year?
If we don't spend it now, we're going to have to put the request in for next fiscal year. But I think the appropriate thing is, since we have $11,000 and part of that was for stuff, supplies, and we've talked about how we need to do this, that we just say, okay, we're going to spend it. If we don't spend it, we'll put it in next year's budget.
Well,
Okay,
it might be easier if we just say, now let's ask for the next year an additional $2,000, and then we can use that to buy the printer, the computer, the scanner.
Yeah, but we want to spend it this year so we can get it up and running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're-
And part of the money, when we got this $11,000, I think it was $10,000 allocation, it was for Path of History and other projects that were involved in the museum. So I think, well, first of all, we should just get it down, all the list of things that we want on our wish list.
Okay.
Anybody have any other things? Chairs?
I would like to see improvements on the trellises, but I think that's just maintenance, city maintenance, right, Gary? We don't need to allocate any money to repair those. Right.
no, I think you need to ask for it in the budget, because Public Works is going to have to, there'll be a cost for it. So even if, I mean, the funds to pay for any improvements like that to the property may not go into the Historical Commission's budget, but City Council will need to allocate them to Public Works or whoever.
Okay,
So our recommendation is set.
okay. So then my motion would be that we ask for $5,000 for the upcoming year, and that money would be used to acquire the computer, the scanner, the printer, and to also have the trellis work repaired or the trellises replaced at the Heritage Court that need to be replaced and repaired, and to get that painted, and also possible painting of the metal fence that surrounds the houses and the museum, the Morale House and the museum.
So but I explained to you before, though, that Public Works has informed me that those fences are coated with a special coating that is not supposed to be painted. So I don't think that they're going to support that request.
Okay. I did notice out at Ensenada Park at the corner of Armour Lane and Goodman Avenue that the fence, a similar fence, surrounds that park. And the fence, metal fence is painted that deep green that we talked about and thought would look good. So all they can do is say no. I mean, my motion would be that we request the 5,000 for those items, and then if anything, is denied, it gets denied. Can't
Okay.
hurt to ask.
I would suggest we get our list of everything first with dollar amounts next to it, and then we do a global motion on it. So I
Okay.
think what you've said, since you said 5,000, it's 1,500 for the computer, or I think it's too low, probably should be 2,000.
2,000 and then 3,000 for the actual work at the site.
Okay, and that may be something that doesn't come out of our budget, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Anybody else, anything else to say?
I know we have talked before about an audio tour, and that's got to cost something to have that all put together.
Okay,
If somebody wants to kind of,
What did she say?
an audio tour, I know that's going to cost quite a bit, but that's something that I would love to see at the museum.
so why don't we put $1,000 next to that as a holding item? That'll give us an opportunity to at least investigate, and
I think it would be way more than that.
I don't know what it's going to take. That's how-
Well, but let's think through it. You're going to need somebody to write them, right? You're going to have to hire a researcher
Yes.
to prepare the scripts, okay? Then you're going to have to purchase, I think it's a great idea. I'm not saying don't
Of course, right.
put it on your wish list. I'm just trying to be practical about what the cost would be. Then you're going to have to buy the technology. So are you talking about like portable headsets that are going to be connected to Wi-Fi, or it's going to be like local flash drives, or?
iPhones.
Or is this,
That's a good idea, because it could be
or is this something that, I mean, it's a good idea, but is it something that would be more in the strategic plan of what we'd want to accomplish?
It's really, again, we've talked about it, it's just a question of putting a dollar amount with it. So you've identified the researcher, which we'll come back to as well, because we have an item that requires a researcher as well. And then we need either a studio or we need the sound equipment to be able to record it.
Well, and I'm guessing that there's probably companies, that do this, so that if you contracted with a company, they probably do it start to finish. You wouldn't have to piecemeal it out.
correct.
So you'd probably have to do a bid.
Getty Museum.
So do you think $2,500 is?
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be
usually
more
a
than
lot.
10,000. It's going to be more than the Claro report was. And how many,
We don't have that much there.
aren't these requests, aren't you,
What?
isn't this what you're going to request for next year? Isn't this?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so shoot for the moon.
Okay.
I'll memorize the script and they can come in and press a button and I'll talk.
Are you able to come back to us with a more realistic number?
Do that.
Because you've done this before in Aurora, so.
Yeah, but we did it internally because we had staff who could do it. And we did it with a phone system. So it was like and it was for all of our historical sites. So you would drive to one historical site and you would dial a phone number, and then you would get a recording of what you were looking at when you got there. And then you drove to another site and you dial the phone number and you get a recording of what happened there. So it's kind of 20th century technology.
Dial.
So would you be able, if we put a placeholder number, would you be able to come back to us with some sort of
I,
estimate?
I could try. I could try. Yeah, I could try.
Do they have something similar at the Getty to what you're suggesting?
And even if it's not with the headset, it could just be a projected audio. You're standing in front of each station. The museum's not very big, so we don't have to go all out. I like the pairing with
Can
the
you talk into your mic because I can't hear you?
I
So
like
why don't we put down $2,500 for
my
that?
voice is just
Exploratory.
It'd be exploratory,
today.
there's no question about it. We need some information, but we need a placeholder in case
Yes.
things all of a sudden radically
Okay.
change.
I mean, and I think the other thing you want to think about too is, are you anticipating that things are going to stay the same at the museum for a period of time? Because if you are going to invest in a quality production company to do this, right, and probably $10,000 or more, then you're not going to want to change everything around and have it become obsolete.
Right.
So maybe, I mean, it's just a consideration. Think about that. I mean, if you are hoping
Maybe
to,
we do it low tech where we actually look at the pieces, write our own pieces on it, record it and make it, as a first start, which will probably cost us less than $200, I would think, to do all that, just to record it all. Maybe that's, but we'll need the Wi-Fi, which is obviously something else you need to add to this thing. Yeah, but I can see it being something where we have a small collection, so it shouldn't be that long. And that way, again, if we don't have anybody who can go talk about it, and we can get some of the audio stories that have gone on. Tony Trudanich, he's got this all worked out really well. I mean, he could even serve as a consultant on this stuff, and he probably has the equipment to do it all too. If you're out there, Tony, and you say yes, please let us know. But his videos are kind of set up that way, and I think bringing him into the process would be good. Anything else? No? Anything?
I was wondering about more display equipment. That's one thing that we've spoken about before, is how outdated and in poor quality just the visual presentation of the materials that you have or that we have there.
Okay, so I've actually put down on my list that we have sign stands so that you can actually put something. You see it at a lot of the doctor's office. You see it at a lot of museums. It's just the stand with a place that you can put information in it. And I think they're $200 when I looked at it, so I figured we'd start off with two.
how about some movable walls
Okay. The
that you can put in front of the windows?
what I'd love to be able, that actually, you know how much those would cost?
What?
Do you know how much those would cost approximately?
Oh, I bet they're at least $1,000 a piece, probably more than that.
I'll put that on the list.
All right, it's on the list.
Great. I think we also need some stanchions in there so kids don't climb all over the fire equipment in there. And I think that they were about $200 to $300 a piece. I think 3 or 4 would be sufficient. And then I know Dan Comiato was looking at stuff. There are some museum quality papers that you can actually preserve documents in. You probably need a fire safe too for some of the important stuff as well.
So you want museum archival storage.
Right, that's the word.
Is there do you have a collections management software?
I don't have a collections management software. It's on an Excel spreadsheet in the computer that we don't have access to. But I've seen
You need
pieces
collections
of it.
management software.
Yeah, we do need to inventory our collection at some point again.
Do we have an estimation for the museum archival storage equipment?
I would say $1,000 on the outside, because we have a lot of clippings. That's really what we start off with. And these are pages that actually would be preserved in there.
Okay.
Yeah. You think it's too low?
Yeah, I mean, I think one archival box could cost you $100.
All right, so let's do 1,000 to start with. Um, and we can do the research on how much it costs and take a look at the collection and figure out how much we want to spend ultimately. But I think we need to at least start with something. And again, some of this stuff we can actually carry it into this year because we do have money for it. I don't know what the council's views are going to be with regards to taking away money from us because we didn't spend it this year.
That's fiscal responsibility.
What?
Very responsible about it.
But this year was different because they
I know.
refinanced all the pension stuff with the bond, so there was money that came in there.
I think there was some mention the other night about $2 million that they were kind of socking away in like a slush fund. Do you remember anything about that, Gary? $2 million
Yesterday,
Tuesday? Yeah.
which item?
I forget. They were talking about,
I mean, I think that
that number came up.
there's a number that's about that size that I've heard, which will be the fees or something that'll be collected for the Galleria project, becoming what are they going to call it now?
The hotel.
Something district, the social district or something like that, right?
Social.
So there are development fees associated with that I think are about the number that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Do we put a dollar sign with the movable walls yet?
1,000.
No, but is the fire marshal going to allow that in front of the windows?
There's so many windows over there that
I don't think that windows are considered exits. I don't think I mean, you can
There's a
have buil-
fire in there and you're in there. That's an
Yeah, but
exit.
I don't think fire marshals look at that. They're looking for doors that wheelchairs can go through.
and
So,
right now you have to climb over furniture in order to get there.
Right.
Let's double the amount of movable walls. Just in
All right.
case. I think you only have room for like one or two at the most
It's
anyway.
not a big museum.
Not the big museum, and actually with the, we should probably budget some money for the easels as well, in case we do the Hernandez exhibit again.
Do we have any idea? Gary, do you have any idea what the cost of the easels are that we borrowed?
$100
$100 for,
for the ones we had last year.
oh, okay.
And we got it for free, so I'm assuming that we have a shot at getting it for free again.
Okay, otherwise, we would need about 15 of those. But where would we store them?
They're
That's,
stored at the Performing Arts Center, so it's not a big deal.
okay. I mean, Gary, do you see any problem in the future with us being able to borrow those easels for one day, to do the Cesar Hernandez exhibit?
what, the ones the Performing Arts Center has?
Yeah.
If they're not using it for something else, I don't see a problem.
Okay, then we don't need to spend that money.
It's not the city of Redondo Beach, it's just stored over there, and they were very gracious the last year to let us do it. It's $10 an easel, so if you need 15 easels, it'll be $150.
Oh, to borrow them? Okay.
No, you're renting them essentially. This is the
Oh.
income that this group has, so they're taking away from their income, but on the other hand, they get free storage over
Yeah,
there. so-
exactly. They get free rent of that.
But I'm not making the call for them. It's like,
Okay.
it's within their goodness of their heart
Okay.
to decide that they want to or not. And I would like to also add $5,000 to Path of History markers.
Okay.
Because our contract runs out, I think, in November. And if the more we can get in there, designed at least, the better off we are. Anything else that anybody thinks that we need to throw in our budget?
How about money for a fountain? Are we going to replace the fountain at Heritage Court, or are we just going to fill it up with dirt and, call it a day?
Okay, so this is what I
Leadership
know.
Redondo is considering that as a project.
Right,
Oh, who is?
Leadership Redondo.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they'll approve it or not, but
It's supposed to be coming up last week in their meetings.
Okay.
But,
you wanted a digital wall, right?
oh yeah, it's actually a digital frame. It's $100 at Best Buy.
You get a bigger one.
Okay. Well, we need a video monitor anyway. We need to at least get in the 21st century. If you look at Hermosa Beaches Museum, and I encourage you all to go there, you will see that they actually have a whole setup where they do the digital stories. You can get a lot more stories out on it. So I'm going back to Tony, if he wants to let us loop in his videos, they're actually very educational and I think would be a good addition. They're short enough, but they actually contain a lot of good content. So yeah, probably what a big screen costs, $2,000, $1,000, I don't know.
All right, add it to the list.
Yeah, we have to get a wall space in order to mount that.
A
just
wall
so
screen.
yeah, something, yeah, a wall mounted,
A monitor.
yeah.
Okay.
And
And-
then we'll need Wi-Fi too, so.
Do we need to make any physical improvements to the bathroom in the museum? Or is it usable now?
So I will be discussing during one of the points on this agenda to make that an on-site storage room, that research room, because that's really where we're storing stuff at this point. I don't know how that's going to impact it, but we are talking about stuff like the bathroom a little bit later.
Okay.
And it's an old house. I don't know what you do with old houses as far as that goes.
What, the bathroom?
The bathroom's an
I
old
mean, is
bathroom,
everything working inside there?
as far as I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, are there bars that people can use to grab onto in there?
Not 88.
Is that just-
compliant.
Is it just maintenance or something the city can do, or does it need an allocation of money?
Anything you do that changes it, you have to do ADA stuff, and
Right, that's what I'm
that's
saying.
not an ADA compliant bathroom.
Okay, well, maybe we can make it ADA compliant.
But you're not using it for visitors.
I know we've had this discussion before, but if you're some old person and you're in there, and you gotta go. You can't ask people to walk down to Dominguez Park by the baseball field and, use the bathroom on the other side of the parking lot. Okay,
We're gonna have that discussion later today anyway.
okay, today?
I think it's gonna end up coming up in one of the items,
Okay.
or at least a report about what's gonna happen with
Do we
it.
have a budget amount for the Wi-Fi requested as well?
I would do $100 a month.
Yeah.
Well,
1,200.
that's after the expense of getting the Wi-Fi there, which we're still trying to figure out what it's going to be.
Yeah,
So,
but we need to put a placeholder in there.
Well, right, and if we do Wi-Fi for the museum, then I would think that the Morel House, the Historical Society would be able to use Wi-Fi there also.
Well, that's part of our discussion on the morale. We don't budget for the morale house.
No, but what I'm saying is that if we do,
They may want to piggyback, you're right. I don't know. I don't know
no
what the,
cost.
I don't know the protocols of the city with regards to outsiders accessing city computers. I think there's an issue there. I have not researched it. I don't know if you've researched it.
Well, I don't think it would be any different than Wi-Fi that's available for the public in any of the public facilities. I mean, we have Wi-Fi at the Arts Center, and I'm sure that there's Wi-Fi here in City Hall, and
Not Wi-Fi that you can access into though, right?
yeah,
Okay.
there's public access.
Okay. Well, when you'll come back with us
Yeah,
and
that
tell
would
us
be nice.
exactly what we're allowed to do on it. I mean, ultimately. And I know that Chris Benson retired, but I understand he's back for a limited number of hours, so maybe he can actually give a quick answer to it. Okay,
Here we have one public comment.
okay, can we wait until we finish discussing anything else?
How about,
Any other press?
Okay, so go ahead with
about staff?
what?
Staff?
Oh, right.
Isn't that part of the community services budget? Is not part of our budget?
Or should we include that amount?
Well, but I mean,
Would that help?
but these are recommendations that you're making to Cameron.
But it's already part of it, and that's something that between him and the
Yeah,
city
but
manager.
if you don't make the case to him that the museum needs staff,
Right.
he's not going to know that he has to try to make the case to anyone else.
All right, so why don't we?
I mean, it's the same thing as improving the Heritage Court, right? I mean, that's not in your budget either. And I don't think probably any of these technology things will be in your budget. They'll probably all be paid for through the IT budget if city council says the historical museum should have these things. I don't think, I mean, unless you go ahead and buy it this year with the money that you have, assuming that you're going to ask for funds for these things, what's probably going to happen, if it works in your favor, is that city council is going to add to the IT budget $50,000 for all of the IT needs at the museum.
Okay, so do you think that $25,000 would be sufficient for a part-time city employee to, to be allocated over to the museum on, like, say, a weekend?
25,000 would be, certainly would be enough to cover 2 days, like 8 hours a week, 2 days. It would, that's probably more than enough to do that.
Okay, so I would, also move that we include that number, and for that specific purpose, $25,000 for a city hall employee or city employee.
But I think what you also want is, in addition to finding someone who can give the tours, ideally, you'd like to have a museum professional who's there to manage the collection and create the new exhibits and develop outreach programs and, talk to the history teachers and, right? I mean, you want to, so it might be 2 part-time people, or it might be, but I think for all of the work that you want to have done there, if you want it run as a professional museum and have the collection brought up to museum quality standards, you're talking about a full-time position for at least a year.
Okay, and you would estimate what?
Oh.
50,000? 60,000?
Well,
If they're going to be part-time?
yeah, if it's 2 part-time people, combined, what would the total cost be?
Yes.
$60,000 you might be able to do it for $60,000.
Okay, so let's include that. All they can do is say no.
How much did you advertise that position for the,
I think the maximum is $19 an hour.
okay.
So that's a recreation leader. Technically, it's classified as a recreation leader. But yeah. And we have, I think we have $8,000 left in that account this fiscal year. So at that rate, if we brought somebody on, like right away, there's probably enough money to finish this fiscal year with somebody working 8 hours a week.
And as I understand it, the budget for this year actually includes having somebody do that. Is that
There's $8,000 left for that.
where'd the rest of it go? We haven't had
Well, that's all that was budgeted.
8,000 for the part-time person? Okay. So there you go.
Okay.
But, okay, so the other thing I think we need is somebody to do publicity as well. Somebody who can write press releases, somebody who can design flyers.
Well, that's something that it would be great if community services had a full-time person who could do it not only for you, but, for I mean, they do have one person, but from what I understand, they're pretty much focused on the city newsletter. But I mean, the Performing Arts Center would like to have that. I'm sure the rec centers would like to have it. I mean, there are a lot of,
Okay, so
The city
why don't
needs-
we not include it in our budget and make a separate motion that the community service, we recommend the community services hire somebody specifically that can do all those functions? And that way Cameron can decide if that's something he wants done or not. I know that you guys are short-staffed, but that may be something that they can look for either in a rec leader or a high school student or something like that. So, okay. I don't think we finished talking about the fountain, but
You said leadership Redondo?
leadership's considering it.
Okay.
You said that the old fountain has been destroyed. So we should be putting it as a priority, but I don't know if it should be coming out of our budget or if it's something that's completely in the control of recs and parks, and they're the ones that need to be the leader on it. And we just have to recommend to them that they make it a priority and they can decide if they want to or not. It kind of crosses over between Public Works and Parks and Recs. And it's technically not within our.
And have they ever talked about it at any of their meetings or even suggested that they have any interest at all in replacing the fountain? Because I haven't heard anything from them.
I can't speak to that without reviewing their minutes,
Okay.
but I think that they have, because I don't know if you've talked to Kelly about that at all. But there's a whole Dominguez Park revitalization that's going on, and there are pieces of it that, for example, we had passed the resolution about signs along the walkway that tells a little bit of a history that you can QR code into. So that's part of the overall Dominguez Park revitalization, starting with the playground. So it's worthy of us finding out, and I don't have a problem talking to Kelly about it, or the person who's with Leadership Redondo, and finding out more.
Are we interested in just having a fountain put inside, let's call it the pond, without it being wired to be pumping water? Or do we just want something there, a statue or fountain that doesn't actually bubble up water? I think that's when it starts to become more complicated.
It's complicated.
Yeah,
But I think we're not we can make a suggestion, but we're not the people who are the driving force of what goes on with it.
Okay, so my suggestion is that we would ask for an additional $1,000 to buy a fountain to put inside the little circular area there at Heritage Court, and it doesn't need to pump water. I see these old antique and vintage fountains on Craigslist all the time. They seem to be all out in the San Gabriel Valley for whatever reasons. I guess they preserve those things. And maybe we buy one and move it there. I mean, it would look better than what's there right now. There's nothing there right now. And we know what was there is gone. So, I mean, Parks and Recreation isn't going to do anything. If they haven't done it, and that fountain has been gone for years, I wouldn't expect them to take any action to do anything. So I would say $1,000 for a replacement fountain.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Just put it in there and make it look really
A
nice.
sculpture like.
Yeah, piece of art. We'll just find something.
Okay.
Okay, I would like $4,000 for map signs so we can make a display like they have along the Esplanade about all the plants, that we could have old maps of Redondo that kind of demonstrate the growth of the city. And I think that would fit in the Heritage Court but I think it's going to cost about $4,000 to do that.
Okay.
The CIP for the Ito Parquet, that's coming out of the CIP, is that correct, Mr. Margolis?
I don't know.
Okay. And then the last thing I think we need, you will see on our agenda, there's an item that we're supposed to research and talk about with regards to Juneteenth and Pride Month. I would like to see at least $1,000 set aside for a researcher. So if we need to actually do historic research, I'm not sure any of us are qualified or capable or experienced in doing that. But for example, the whole Pride issue, we probably will need to bring somebody in to actually do the research for that.
I would think so.
Yeah. So, and that's something we can even put in this year's budget so we can actually meet the council's expectation of us actually having something.
They couldn't even figure this stuff out themselves the other night when they were talking about the flag and how many flags and the competition. I mean, it went down on a 3-2 vote and there was a lot of discussion, and I'm not even sure they're all on board.
Well,
Yeah.
they asked us to do the research on it. I think it's a worthy thing. It's history in our city, and it relates to a certain aspect, part of our community. So I think it, irrespective of whether the council can't get their act together on it, as you say, I think it's important that we get the story out there and have somebody who's qualified to do the story. When I do the Path of History markers, I have a professional research librarian put together material. So, because sometimes I'm not qualified to do it. When we do the Ito Parquet, we're going to have a whole group of people, most likely, that can relate to the story better than somebody like me who hasn't experienced or doesn't have.
Is that Thompson?
What? Thompson, yeah.
Why don't we just have him do it? Then we ask for $1,000 and ask him to do the research.
He's a city employee. I don't know what his status is, if it's part-time or whatever it is, but you would have to go through the city HR person, because it may end up causing him to get benefits, and they may not have worked that out with him. Ideally, he would have been the great person to be our museum docent, but nobody ever from the staff followed up on it. That was before your time, so.
Okay.
But we proposed that.
But that's, see, something like that is a good budget suggestion, because if he's willing, then you ask the city to create a full-time position that would be split between the library and the museum.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I know that Cameron was aware that he had expressed interest when I approached him, but as far as I know, nothing's ever come out of that. And it's not something that we as a commission have the ability to do anything. It's a staffing question. But ideally, he's very knowledgeable and he enjoys the stuff, and he would probably be a good job curating our collection as well. They have a quality digital scanner over at the library, where they've been scanning in all the old newspapers that we had at the museum. So I know that it's possible, as far as that goes, to utilize them, but it's worth exploring.
But if somebody doesn't make that connection, that suggestion, they're not going to think of it on their own.
We've proposed the connection. So I said, I proposed the connection. It never has been followed up by the people.
A full-time position split between the library and the museum?
It was presented as he's working part-time for the library. Let's have him part-time for the museum. But that's it never got to the point where city staff actually talked to him individually about how to make it work. And unfortunately, that has to come from city staff, because I can't make employment offers to people.
No, yeah.
But anyway, we have $8,000 that we can spend this year on it. So that's already in, and that's not in the $17,000 number, that $8,000.
Right, because that's administration.
Yeah. So anyway, it's worth it. Getting back to the fountain, I think you put in a number on it.
We have 1,000 for the fountain,
Great.
working or not.
Anything else that you guys can think of? And I put 4,000 for the,
I got you.
Okay.
The researcher, or no, the maps and signs, sorry.
yeah.
Oh, the tent, do we need to allocate for the tent? Gary? Okay, so let's say $500 for a tent, one of those pop-up tents, larger size, maybe 10 by 20,
I'm gonna make it 800.
800, okay,
I think I researched it and told you that that's how much it costs to rent.
okay. $800 for a pop-up tent for, events at the museum.
Okay. Anybody else? So are you able to read back what we have so far?
We're looking at a computer system and scanner for $2,000. Painting of the trellis request for $3,000. Looking into audio tour, studio time performances, $2,500. Wi-Fi, $1,200 for the year of Wi-Fi. I put $1,000 to $2,000 for setup and installing. More display equipment, $400. Movable walls, $2,000. Stanchions, 4 of them at $300 a piece for $1,200. Museum archival storage, $1,000. Easels, $150. Path of History, $5,000. Wall screen big screen monitor, wall screen, $2,000. 2 part-time staff, $60,000. Fountain, $1,000. Community service publicity, we don't have a number for that.
That's a recommendation.
That's a recommendation. Maps and signs for $4,000. A researcher for $1,000 and a tent for $800.
Okay. Anything else? That's what, about 150,000?
Not quite there. But, I mean,
Okay.
but we're bumping up to 100.
Okay. So is that a fair assessment of what we want in the budget for next year? And you said there was a public comment.
Yes, sir, from Anthony Trutanich again. I will
good.
write the scripts for free if you need me to.
All right.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Okay, so that's really good. And again,
Museum tour, is that what he's talking, for the museum tour?
did he say
The audio
anything
tour?
about
Might have been the audio
using
tour.
his audio, his video stuff on a big screen?
That's all he said. I will write the scripts for free if you need me to.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So let's make a motion that that's our initial recommendation.
Sure. So
And then the
motion.
second motion I think we need to make is we can probably include certain things in this year's budget to accommodate from what we have already on hand, and that may, I'll adjust it. So
Okay.
is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Any public comments other than Mr. Trutanich who commented?
Public comments at this time, sir.
Do you have any questions or want? No? Okay. So all those in favor of that laundry list that we had, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. What I would recommend is you take that list to Cameron and see if there's something that he wants to tweak on it, but at least that's where we can go with it. I would at this point like to make a motion that we, from this year's budget, spend the $2,000 on the computer, the $800 for the tent, and the audio tour, since Mr. Trutanich has volunteered to pay for it, that we spend $1,000 this year just getting the equipment and everything if we need to. So that would be a total of $2,800, I think.
For the computer and the audio tour?
Audio tour 1,000 as opposed to 2,500.
Okay.
And we can at least get it started. And then the tent that we need to rent for $800.
We could probably buy one for $800.
Do you want to rent? Do you want to buy? Do you want to keep it? Where do
I
you want to
think-
store it?
Buy it and we'll store it at the Performing Arts Center with everything else, right?
I don't know.
Everything else is over there, right?
One-stop
I'm
shop.
going to use it every year. And if they have any events over at the Morel House, you know, it's not as if it belongs solely to the museum. Just let other people borrow it and use it.
Okay, so do you want to buy it? Do you want
Buy
to
it.
rent it?
I think we can buy it for 800.
Okay.
I'll start
So
looking.
why don't we
I-
say buy or rent?
Buy or rent. I did get that cabinet, did I not? Yeah, about $3,200 under budget, I might add.
Okay, so anyway, you can price it out. Since
Okay.
you're the one who's going to have to,
I'll find it.
Not to exceed $800.
Not to exceed
and if it
800.
does, then you can come back to the next month and tell us. Did you want to include in your $40 for your chairs? This is your chance.
What am I doing? Yeah, sure.
What?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so Commissioner Warstadt spent $40 buying chairs so that we could have them on the outside that are at least nicer than the fold-up chairs that we have now. So she's going to bring them when we do our open house, but we can include in there that you would reimburse the $40. As long as you have the adequate documentation to show your parents so that it can get through the city's criteria. Okay, so we have 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 800 plus 40. You want us to bump it to 1,000 for the 10? Not to
Okay.
exceed? Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so that's my motion. Is there a second to it?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Any public comment?
Zero public comments at this time.
Okay, so we have 4 items: the computer, the audio tour, the tent, and the display. And I probably should ask for a friendly amendment for the easels for your event, about $150 if that's what's necessary.
Yes.
Okay, so who made the motion? What? I did?
You did.
Okay, that's my, and you seconded it? One of you two seconded it, I thought. Okay, is there a second to that friendly amendment?
Second.
Okay, so that's the discussion. So now we have 5 items that we're including in here. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that passes. So I guess the next step on the computer is to get either an estimate or something from IT that tells us this is what we can spend it, and then we have the authority to spend it if we need to. And then before they destroy the old computers, we got to figure out how to get some of the data off of that. Okay, that was fun. That brings us to anything else on the budget? Okay,
Not at this time.
great. That brings us to the Historical Commission committee reports. So let me turn to that. Why don't we start with the blue folder item, financial accounts related to history projects. And I don't know who's doing that one. I think,
Well, you sort of already covered that.
Yeah.
That was the one where you saw the $17,000.
yeah, but here's the problem I'm having with that is we usually have a statement of what we have in the bank accounts, and you gave us that in March. And I had questions about that in March.
There's no bank account. Like,
There's 2 accounts.
No, that's what's on the report. Everything that you have is on that report.
It doesn't break it down by accounts, does
Yes, it does.
Are you, okay, are you saying, oh, the account number is the R1072, D1006?
Yeah.
Okay, and this one, in the March report, you didn't have the $2,000 carryover. Can you explain what the not yet rolled over means?
So because I've been asking about it, they've started to roll over funds from 22 that had been sitting there for, what are we, 9 months into the year? And so there's still that one other account that hasn't been rolled over yet.
Okay. So is the 2,000 in our accounts, or is it just sitting there waiting to roll still?
Well, the 2,000 that hasn't been rolled over,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I tried to buy something tomorrow using that account, I don't think the system would, process it, because it'll show that there's no money in that account, or however much, what's in there before there's nothing in there. So until they roll the money over, it's not available to spend. The same thing, as far as I understand it, because I'm learning things, month to month, so I certainly understand this better than I did last month, but, every month, new information comes along. I believe it's the same issue with the revenue accounts. That money isn't available to pay for things until it's moved into an expense account. Okay, so as I understand it, the money is there, but like everything that you bring in through donations, right? All of that money is in a revenue account. You can't spend that money until it gets moved to an expense account.
Okay, so like that Margaret Healy and the Leslie Jacobs, this is not yet rolled over?
Well, it's not, I don't think that's not an issue of rolling over, and help me here, Eric, if you can. Rollover is when you have money left at the end of one fiscal year that by the city's fiscal policies is eligible. You don't, it doesn't get swept into the general fund. So I would think that like donations, wouldn't get swept. And that's something that gets rolled over. It seems like CIP money gets rolled over. I would guess that the $10,000 that you were given that sits in the community services special supplies fund or whatever it is will get swept if you don't spend it. That they're not going to give you that money, what's left over. They might allocate new funds, but I'm guessing that kind of a account doesn't get rolled over.
Okay. And that's just through September 30th, right?
No, June 30th.
June 30th. So we don't have that much time to,
Right.
so we'll probably, when we get to staff recommendations, we have at the meeting next time how to spend the rest of the money.
Okay.
We got along long here. It's not a question of, it's just a question
Well, I
of
mean,
taking our list and.
things like your museum supplies, a tent, if that's really feasible. I mean, those kinds of items would be, I think, relatively easy to purchase.
Mhm.
When you get into the realm of the IT stuff and the improvements to the heritage court, the things that sort of like fall under other departments' purview, that's more difficult. But I think designing new markers, anything for the inside of the museum.
So maybe, is it possible that Eric can send you that list that we approved for next year's budget, and you can send it to us so that we have at least the maximum amount of time to consider it before our next meeting? Okay, that's a yes, okay.
That's a yes.
Okay, so my.
You're just asking me to transcribe his notes and send them out, right?
No,
Oh.
because he can't send it out to us because of the Brown Act stuff. He can send it to you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then you can send it out as a informational thing to us.
I will type up the notes, I'll send it to you, and then you can distribute it to everybody. And my understanding when we met on this is, there's not some bank account that's sitting there. These are allocations that we can use. But to Gary's point, as long as the funds sit in a revenue account until they're assigned into the appropriate expense allocation funds, we cannot then go and purchase these things. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we approve these, or once we make the recommendation and those recommendations are approved and they're dropped in the proper expense accounts, that's when we can actually go spend these funds for the appropriately approved items.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we allocated $6,000 last month, so has that been dropped into?
Well, when you allocate something, what you're basically doing is making a recommendation to Cameron.
Okay.
I mean, Cameron decides whether the money is going to get spent or not. So it's not like you encumber the money by, making a recommendation. You're sending a message to Cameron that you as a commission agree that you would like him to approve this expenditure out of one of your budgets, right? So let's say, if the tent turns out to be 2,500 instead of 2,000, we don't have to come back to you and say, can we have the extra 500? If you've approved spending that money and Cameron believes that it's something that makes sense, he'll make it happen.
Okay.
The one thing, though, that I would ask that you sort of do before you leave this item is, I think that the numbers that you've attached to some of these items are low. It would be very helpful if you could split up some of these items and do some research on what the actual things would really cost. Because if you want me to do it, I think it's going to be much slower for me to do all of those items. I mean, I will get to them eventually, but if you could do, the stuff in the museum and you could do the technology stuff, and if you could split it up a little and do the research and attach a web page, that shows, what it would really cost, I just think it'll be a better ask, because I know Cameron's going to say to me, is this really what it costs? He's not going to go to his boss, the city manager, and the city manager certainly isn't going to go to city council and say, this is what we want for this much money, without proof that that's what it really is going to cost.
Okay, well, that's a fair statement, but I guess we'll get the list ultimately, and then we can divide up certain things.
Okay.
I mean, the HR ones obviously are going to have to fall into you, the staffing ones, so, or Cameron, depending on what he wants to do with the department.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so that's that committee report for budget and finance, unless you have anything else you want to.
Nope.
Okay, so let's go to, let me get to that page. So the path of history, just so you know, we have 3 signs that have now been designed and just waiting for final approval on it. One is the Aviation Park, one is the old firehouse, which is dedicated to the firefighters, and the third one is the beach scenes, which is going to be the Riviera Village beach house. And those are in the process. So those hopefully will be coming out soon. Then we have, I am looking for one page over here. I should probably go here. It's a lot easier. J1. Here we go. Okay, so my system is not working on that, so excuse me for my delay on the item. Okay, we did budget, museum. You had requested a walkthrough, correct? Okay. I assume that we haven't been open since the March event that we had. Okay. And we'll talk, I guess we can talk about it during the birthday celebration about going in and taking a look at it beforehand. Okay, so why don't we come on that. Outreach, we're welcoming our high school student who's here. And I think since the last time we talked, I actually spoke to one of the church groups about Redondo history. So we did some outreach, bringing history outdoors, that we've talked about the outdoor map stuff, the Ito Park. So that's going to be a CIP proposal, as I understand it, for next year. But we have a marker that's being going to be installed with regards to a small dedication plaque at the park yet. And you all, once we get the date that it's going to be ready, and I don't know if you've heard from Mike Klein at all. I asked him if he had any updates for tonight's meeting, but that should be coming soon. I don't think your names are on it, but we did put the council of people on
The
it.
current council or the prior council?
Prior council,
Okay, why aren't we putting the current council people?
because then we'd have to redo the whole plaque, and that costs a lot more money. And it was.
Has it been made?
Yes.
Okay.
And on top of it, it's tied into a resolution that actually was done during the prior council's term. 'Cause that's what the park was dedicated with.
Okay.
Wilderness Park, state landmark designation. I have not heard from former Commissioner Klinger. I don't know if he's talked to you at all.
Not heard from him.
Okay, you're going to Earth Day this weekend, right?
I am going to go, yes, on Saturday.
Okay, I think some of the people that he was working with are over there, and maybe you can get an update from them as to what's going on. Okay, did you hear anything yet from anybody on that? Okay. And then oral history is nothing to report. So that,
I never heard anything from Commissioner Klinger about
Right.
that either.
I thought he was in North Palm Springs now, or Desert Hot Springs, somewhere north of the 10 freeway out there. I mean, is he still around?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
he just hasn't responded to that text asking you for an update.
Oh,
I might be waiting a while.
He may be watching for all I know. It does stream. So can I get a motion to receive and file all the reports that are apparently oral?
So motioned.
Okay, is there a second?
second.
Okay, before we actually vote on that, I do want to mention, there is a written report from the Path of History that was there last month. It does mention that it's attached to this report, but so it's going to be including the Path of History report from last month. Okay, any further discussion? You look confused? No? Okay, any public comment?
No further comments at this time?
Okay. And Tony, if you are watching, you are welcome to come down anytime and talk to us. We'd love to have you in attendance. Okay, so do you have anything you want to add? Okay, so it's been moved and second to receive and file the committee reports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so now we move on to the city birthday celebration. And I'll let Gary kick it off since he wrote the report on it. And then we'll turn it over to Commissioner Warstadt, who's spearheading it.
Well, we're basically, Cameron asked me to find out what you folks want to do, and then he's going to figure out what resources we can allocate to make that happen.
Okay? You're up.
Okay, and so I know that it is approaching pretty quickly. It's the 29th. I personally have just started as of yesterday. I did reach out to some of the nonprofit to see if they would like to set up a table and if they have their own Easy Up, if that's something they want to bring, like South Bay Parkland Conservancy, the Rotary Club, the Women's Club. And I did reach out just via email to the Redondo Beach Fire Department to see if they want to attend the event, as they're invited, and also hand out, a lot of times they hand out stickers and things like this and just kind of greet the public attendees.
Have you heard from any of them?
I have not heard back because I've only sent my emails yesterday.
And where do these tables go? And do you
So-
need tables?
I'm already asking if they want to bring a table. I
Asking
don't,
them to bring their own table?
yes,
Okay.
but have not heard back. So I'm giving that a couple more days again, since it's only been a little over 24 hours. And with that, if, let's say somebody, like the Rotary Club, that I hear back from them and they say, oh, well, you know, we'd love to attend. So your first question was where? And it would be on the lawn area, the same place that the art installation would be placed in June with the tent.
Around the beautiful fountain,
Yeah.
or on the
Well,
other side?
just where that pad is, that large lawn area. So you know where your orange trees are, it's just kind of lined up with that lawn pad.
Okay, so they'd be outside.
It'd be outside. Now, I did walk it.
Has this been done before, where you've had community folks bring tables? And
No, but I would like to just build this up a little more
I
community-based.
think it's a great idea. I'm just trying to picture, you know, will the tables really fit?
Sure,
And do they want me to
sure.
just-
So I don't know if it's been done before. This is my second term, and so far I haven't seen it. I don't know what has been done in years prior, but I just think it would be a great idea to invite them, since they're nonprofit, and the more the merrier, so that when people are coming in and doing the tours in the museum and celebrating the birthday, they can also see what the other organizations are about.
Okay, so now that you've broadcasted on television, right? So if people contact us and say, you know, we're a nonprofit, we want to set up a table for the birthday, should I have them contact you?
You can,
You know what the
however,
maximum number you could have there is?
I don't know. That's a great question, but I would say maybe no greater than 5.
Oh, okay, that's a small.
It's a
amount.
small amount, but still, you know,
That's a good
just
start,
to
yeah.
give everybody enough space.
So after
because-
you get 5, you'll basically say to people, we're full.
Yeah, perhaps we can just cue that for the next event, if that's something that is entertained with staff and commission, if that's something we want to share, because it's community-based, and I think why not? You know, it'd be great to see what they're all about and exchange information, and if they have flyers or anything they want to present. You know, some people even have those little spin the wheel kind of things, and they give away their own little goodies. I don't know. I have not heard back, but I anticipate hearing back. It would be wonderful. And then if, you know, I would think these organizations have their own tables, but if that's not the case, then I can reach out and let you know and see if we have something to provide for them. So, and I don't know what protocol is for any kind of food trucks. It would be wonderful, but I don't know time and permits if we have any of those resources.
Has that been done before?
What?
Food trucks?
I
They do
don't
with the fire
think so.
department when they do this stuff.
I don't think so.
Because that would take care of all the food needs if possible.
Has the city done food trucks for anything?
No, they had a problem just getting hot dog stands out on the Esplanade
There were
years
a couple
ago.
of food trucks at Springfest, but those would have been arranged by the promoter of that.
Okay.
I mean, that wasn't a city event. That was a North Redondo
Right.
business, right?
I thought that they were doing regular food trucks at the Performing Arts Center, but you would be more attuned to that.
Oh, I remember
Who's
that.
they? Who would they be? The city?
The city was having people come down there. That's
During,
what?
yes, I remember that.
So.
Yes.
As part of Springfest or regular
No,
throughout the
regular-
year?
Throughout the year.
There's
but-
not been one food truck there since
Okay,
I've been
You
here.
would know better than
was
anybody
this?
else, because that's where you're on.
They
The
were.
Performing Arts
Yeah,
Center.
I
Perhaps
think
it just stopped.
this was a
at
couple
some
years
point.
ago. They
Yes,
had food
yes.
trucks come in, I think Mondays and Wednesdays or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. It did happen for a while and then it stopped and I don't know.
COVID.
I mean,
Correct.
I could ask Jack if he knows food trucks.
I forgot about that.
Who arranged for the food trucks at the Performing Arts Center 2 years ago?
And of course, you know, it's not essential.
I'm sure it requires a license,
Yeah, probably does.
and I have no idea how long that permitting process takes.
And we're approaching, so, you know, it's a wish list, but if it's not feasible, I understand, of course.
But, okay.
Another thing, I know Commissioner Cullen and I walked that lawn. We were looking for sprinkler heads. I didn't see any, but I would love to verify that because if I'm going to have guests with tables, I don't want sprinklers going off. So maybe Public Works can just verify if there's a sprinkler system or anything that's a little more well hidden. Do you remember walking the lawn with me?
I didn't see any.
I didn't see any, but I'm not the expert, and I just don't want any of those hidden surprises.
You usually don't see them when they're not going off, right?
Right? Yeah, usually
Right.
they're retracted
I was looking at the
down.
mess of the trellises and the
Yeah,
rusty
so
fence.
if we,
Why
yeah,
haven't you mentioned that before?
What?
I'm just thinking like, you know,
Well, it's reclaimed water, which is even worse.
Yeah.
we
It'll
just
be
don't
good
want
to
those
know.
kind of
I don't want a bunch
surprises.
watercolored paintings out there, you know, and sprinklers go off.
So that's just, you
So
know,
that's a public works question.
yes.
Did you invite the fire department?
Yes, I did.
Did, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to follow up with that. I'm going to follow up with that too, yeah, because I'm only going via email, so perhaps a phone call would be something I can do just to,
I mean,
Follow
I
up.
would think that, obvious folks to invite would be, I don't know if they do that here in Redondo Beach. I know other places I've worked, like the water department. I know Redondo Beach doesn't have its own water department, but they would come, with their trucks of water and they'd pass out water bottles and all of the individual departments that had programming, like, I don't know, maybe, recreation, they'd want to hand out their newsletter, and who else does stuff in the city?
The gas
right?
company, Athens, would
Oh.
be doing it too. I want to, do you need us to sign off? We don't want to keep you here forever. Do you want the manager of cultural arts to sign it, or do you want one of us to sign it?
Okay, but
Hey, man.
you have to pass the test first, and the test is, how many times have you been to the historical museum? Do you know where it is?
Maybe I have to go now. Sounds like a lot of
visit us.
Oh, wait,
Oh, yeah.
where am I signing?
Well, you
I'm signing
you
over.
have to wait till it's open. Go on the 29th.
on this one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
for the
supposed to-
city's, and it's the 131st birthday, right?
Here you go.
Steve?
You can invite some friends.
Steve,
There you go.
131,
Yes,
right?
please.
You said 135.
131. He
I
was
was
close.
looking at my
He
button
was
from the
close.
100th anniversary of the city. I didn't keep track,
Now
That
you
was
can
just
tell him
last
the
year.
address that you know where, it is,
Seems like it.
right?
Maybe we can get some buttons made, right?
How many people showed up last year?
I wasn't on the commission, so I don't know. I don't know if
Thank
there
you for
was any
coming.
We didn't
celebration.
have one last year.
The last time you had one?
It was before the pandemic, and we did that with, we don't even know if the Morale people are going to be opening up or not.
Have you contacted them?
I don't have a way of contacting
You
them.
don't have a way to contact them?
I don't know.
Well, I'll get you a number.
Okay.
Because
I'm
I would
numbers.
think, yeah, I mean, that would be the most important thing
trying all
to do.
my,
It's okay, I'll get you two numbers, one.
right, yeah.
that-
And
that'll
that's all I
for
can
sure.
commit to because of my big project coming up.
Okay, so are you finished with that?
I think so, yes.
Okay, did you want to pass out some of the flyers to your fellow commissioners?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Are we going to put anything on the city's Facebook page
Should have passed this.
Yeah, I mean,
advertising this?
well, once.
I have one.
Once we know that what's going to be going on, I think,
What's going to be going on?
Okay, so let me tell you what I know is going on, and I actually have a question for you, Mr. Margolis. What do you perceive your role in supporting this event is,
Benny.
if any? Yeah.
well, I'll try to do what you ask me to do.
Okay. So we do have the mayor pro tem confirmed. This event goes from 10 to 3. We have the mayor pro tem confirmed at 10:30 to actually do two historical presentations. One is the fire hydrant that we received is going to be accepted by the mayor pro tem. And the other is there's going to be a presentation of some historical plaques, which I think may have made it to the museum or may be
They
sitting.
did, they're there.
Okay, great. That talks about Riviera Village history.
So-
It's a very fascinating story.
Are his presentations going to be inside or outside?
Well, one of the questions I had asked early on is, do we have a sound system, which I should have added to the list of the
Well, you
budget.
don't need a sound system if it's inside.
Yeah, but I don't know what the crowd is and we want it outside.
May I just say, I just purchased, it's a microphone that I'm using for singing, but it
It's a
pairs.
karaoke type thing?
It can be for speeches and professional, and we don't have to do the karaoke. I do that when I sing, but other than that, no. It's got all the modes, but it will pair with your phone for Bluetooth. That's how you would get the audio.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So we can try. I'll just make sure that I charge it.
Then it'll probably be inside
Just
because
saying.
that's where, I assume the fire hydrant is back with the fire hose. No? So we definitely need to get in and move things around.
Yeah, and the filing cabinet, not the filing cabinet, the historical
cabinet.
cabinet is just sitting there in the middle of the,
And the tiles are still probably sitting underneath that flip chart thing.
wherever, you mean the ones that I took out of
Yeah.
the, wherever I moved them to is where they still are, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we have the mayor pro tem coming to do some presentations. He may also talk a little bit about Redondo history. We are actually very lucky that the city has actually, the city council has taken a strong interest in this event. I don't know if you guys have done any publicity yet.
We don't know that it's happening. We don't know, how could we publicize?
I'll get to that part in a second.
Okay.
We do know that you committed to open and close the facility if Steve can't open and close it.
I don't have a code.
Yes, you do. I sent it to you.
You did?
Yep.
When?
Okay,
Oh, look.
well, you guys can work that out, but if you can't do it, Gary's committed to do it. So as long as it's open about 15 minutes before so we can get everything set up on the inside for the
You
event.
have the key.
I can be there, we want 9:30 on Saturday? 9 o'clock?
Not this Saturday, but the following.
Right, the
Saturday.
29th.
Yeah.
Is that good
8
enough for you?
o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, will this be a dog-friendly event?
As far as I know, there's no dogs still allowed in there.
They're all under the power lines right there.
That's the dog part.
You're asking about a time,
What time would you
9:30?
like it to be open? For you?
Oh, I haven't got that far yet.
Okay, you can let me know.
It should be before 10 o'clock though.
9:30. Is that okay?
It's your event, so yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Jackie,
Okay. And we have,
I'll give Jackie the key.
I can't take on that responsibility.
No,
sorry.
I'll
It's a
open it.
key.
I
I'm
know
gonna,
you're
I'll open
kidding,
it.
but no,
Stick of dynamite.
I can't do it. No.
so you're going to take care of figuring out if you have a code or not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Do you need money put aside for that event? No, yes?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
If-
it's so late and.
if there aren't food trucks, I mean, do you want to have water or any kind of snacks?
Yeah.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah.
You gotta tell me what you want.
Right.
Just go over to Big Lots and get some of those little,
Can't commit.
little Debbie birthday cake things, and they have, buns, honey buns, and just get, some of those boxes and get some
I'm not
small
able to
water
go do that.
bottles and
If anyone
you're
else
set.
wants to volunteer that would be amazing to help me.
The snack bar is also going to be open at the Little League, just so you know. But they were actually okay with food trucks. Okay, so the other thing, so
Cheetos.
I don't know where the information
and
in
Mountain
the-
Dew.
where this information in the administrative report came from, but the Cesar Hernandez event is not the same as the city birthday event.
No.
And that was in our November minutes, it's supposed to be in November, so that's,
Okay, that was my mistake. I
it's
saw
okay, it's a
it.
completely different thing, but I didn't want Mr. Commissioner Cullen to lose sight that his event is not happening on April 29th.
No, it's in
happening
June.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote to Cameron in response to his question about getting this on the agenda on April 3rd and informed him that we were going to have food trucks in a community affair. And we did need help with publicity well before the event, and we often needed staff participation. And we wanted the opening and closing, and we wanted to know, are there restrictions related to food trucks coming in? And that's something that staff would know, since again, it's a permitted kind of thing. And if there were any issues, we didn't hear back on that. We didn't hear back if there was going to be additional community services staff, but this was not a week before the event, but it was a month before the event. So I don't know if it was not communicated to you, but we've been asking for a month for the stuff about the food trucks and the community tables. So I'm just mentioning that at this point. And
Well, if it happens, it would be great. If it doesn't happen, maybe we can get the info, because we can always do it at the Cesar Hernandez art.
Right.
Let's assume that getting a food truck, that getting permission for a food truck is easy to do. If you're the operator of a food truck, would you want to show up at an event where the organizers have no idea if there are going to be any people there who will actually buy food?
And that's a factor of publicity, unfortunately.
No, it's not. It's a factor of being able to demonstrate historically that this event has the ability to draw a crowd.
Okay.
Right. I get what you say, Gary. It's like, I remember they would have like the Flower Mart Day over at Burl Heights Elementary School. And the organizers would hire somebody to bring in all these flowers, from the Flower Mart, but they would guarantee a minimum, sales there. So if they didn't make it up from the public, then the organizers had to make up the difference there. So,
But if you don't publicize something, you can't guarantee people will show up or not.
Yeah.
If you don't put the information out there, nobody's going to know that they need to come down other than the city council, because they keep on reminding them that they need to come down to this event.
Yeah.
It may end up being that the city council shows up and there's nobody there. I don't know. I don't know what publicity can be done. I talked to Mike Wazanski about it a couple weeks ago. I think there's going to be a push, but this is a big deal for a city event. It's something that we've done traditionally until COVID. I don't know how many people are going to be there. I do know that the last event we had, there was a request that I didn't ask for publicity. I asked for publicity on this one specifically, and I feel sad for Commissioner Warstack, because she's the one who's forefront on it, and I've been letting her do the planning and do the vision that she wants to do and not imposing my own views on it. But I'm hoping we get people out there. We now have flyers, which hopefully can get uploaded into the computer, even on the Instagram
Where's
account.
a flyer? I haven't seen a flyer.
But I just handed it to you.
Oh, you designed it?
No, she did.
Oh,
I just handed it to
It's
you.
very simple.
Okay.
I have a lot on my plate at the moment.
And she's moving the day before.
I'm
on top
moving
of
the
it,
day
so-
before on top of all of this stuff. Yeah.
I just think that people are usually attracted to an event that has something going on, so, if you had,
We got 70 people to show up to the open house that we did in the fall. So
We did.
the last Cesar Hernandez event, we had over 70 people. We
yeah,
had
that was pretty successful.
and that was all
Minimal
factor.
advertising.
Yeah.
It was pretty successful.
And I know that you mentioned, and maybe this is something you can ask some of your colleagues that do a lot of Facebook stuff. Maybe they can get the word out over there.
so do you folks have social media accounts? Have you put this on Nextdoor?
I did a post on Facebook with pretty pictures that I took of the rose garden and just
picture, of course, of the museum with information that supports, this flyer.
That's good.
So
Okay.
that's a start as well. But yes, if others want to do the same,
So okay, so,
And we're limited in what we can do on social media by policies that we're assigned a setting.
correct.
So,
you're on what you can put on your personal media,
yes, we're limited. It's because we're doing it as part of a historical commissioner.
and it tells you that you can't put this on your personal social media.
That specifically, it doesn't say anything about that specific flyer. It does say about posting stuff on social media involving city events.
Okay.
I need to
So-
retract my post.
Gary, what I was going to suggest is last year, for the Cesar Hernandez event, the city did a nice flyer and posted it on the city's website. Maybe you can just pull.
Where on the website? Was it like on the front page as soon as you?
I don't remember. I mean, I could send
Might even
it
be the
to
bottom
you.
page of this.
Um,
I feel like it's on here.
I think it might even
Scroll
be.
down, it might be here, and it had the city seal, like,
Yeah.
it had.
Oh, that's the
Go
one
all
that
the
you
way-
sent us,
Yeah.
in the packet. The Historical Museum Open House plus,
The one from last year.
Yes.
yeah, April
It's right
30th,
here, page
2022.
43. If you scroll down, I knew it was
Yeah, but-
there.
Okay, so I will submit this to the department's social media person,
Okay.
and she'll,
Hey,
I'll
just cut and
submit this,
paste
yeah.
from last year's
Yeah, right.
and it'll be great. Just cut and paste the photo and everything. It was a nice picture of the museum.
So yeah,
We don't have to
it's
reinvent the
right
wheel.
here,
well, no, I mean, I have a new flyer.
page 43.
And that's where actually looks like that's where the information that you put in for the Cesar Hernandez event came
Right,
from.
that's why I got confused.
Okay, so did you want money? Wanted a couple $100 or $400 to deal with water and things like that?
I don't think I'd be able to take on any more than what I'm doing right now.
I mean, it's not a question of you taking it on, it's a question, do you want money set aside, should
I
somebody?
will pick it up. Tell me what you want.
Sure, absolutely.
You don't need to allocate money. I can
Okay.
just,
Thank you. Thank you.
what do you want?
Okay,
Guys.
some of those boxes of Little Debbie birthday cakes, you get 8 of them per box. They're $2.99 a box. Big Lots over there on Aviation Boulevard. Get some water, maybe some Gatorade, some soda over there.
For 100 people?
Yeah, 100 people. Yeah,
And then what do we do with the stuff that's left over?
we'll use it at the Cesar Hernandez event.
Well, the drinks, I don't know about the food.
We just put it in the freezer.
Freezer.
People.
Pantry. Is there a pantry at the Morale House? Wink, wink.
You know, the catering
Right?
kitchen at the museum. Yeah, that's got a freezer.
Morale House, we'll store it in there. It'll be safe.
Little Debbie birthday cakes, water and Gatorade.
They're the white ones with the little sprinkles on it.
How cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Solution.
And as far as volunteers go, I said I would help you out as a volunteer on the day of the event. I think Vanessa just responded that she's coming as well.
Oh, wait, hold on, wait, one more question
Vanessa?
about snacks. Do the beverages have to be cold?
Not if it's water.
Okay,
Just get water.
because I mean, I'm just gonna like pick it up at the store before I come. It's not gonna be.
Yeah.
And Redondo's, that store is like a block away, so maybe they even want to contribute some stuff too.
Who?
The place called Redondo, which is in that Barrel Street Mall.
I think the fewer people involved in getting
Okay.
water and things to eat, the better. I think Big Lots opens up at 9:30, 9 or
I'm
9:30.
gonna go to 99 cents.
Yeah. 190th.
Yeah.
They have the same stuff.
Okay.
Oh, we have to talk about the walkthrough prior to.
Okay. So
Yes.
obviously we need to do some fixing up there because we have a display case that's in the middle of the room. We have pieces of artifacts in different locations. We have to relocate the fire hydrant. Probably have to put those Riviera Village things on the wall that there's a space for. So did you want to do the walkthrough this weekend, or do you want to do it during the week?
I'm all out of time, unfortunately.
Okay.
I might be able to do 1 hour, one evening. I'm packing.
Gary, can you set aside any time on Saturday? I will go over there and we'll do it and we'll get it all set up, so that nobody's scrambling on the day of this
Appreciate it.
event.
And I know it was mentioned that I'd be attending Earth Day, but it's also to promote and invite them to our event. That's
What time you want me to meet you there?
How about 10 a.m.?
I'll be there.
This Saturday.
Yeah. And can you bring my code and show me how to plug it in? So I'll hold on to the key. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll
10 a.m.
join you just so I can physically move stuff.
yes.
Oh, will you be there too?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have 3 people.
Having your papers.
Okay, so, do you need copies of that flyer made up for Earth Day?
I have these and I can print probably about 15 from my computer would be my capacity.
Is it something that community services
I can do them right here. Before you go, I can make you copies.
Okay, wonderful.
How
Thank
many
you.
do you need?
500, 1,000?
No, I don't need that many. No, we'd be here all night, right? Off the top of my head, maybe like 35.
Okay, so as soon as we're done here, I'll make them for
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. I have red, white, and blue bunting at my house, so I'll bring that and we'll put it up on the fence, the rusty fence out there.
Not that week before, should probably put it the day of.
Yeah.
Again, my apologies for not being able to do the walkthrough, but thank you for all stepping up to that. It's amazing. Thank you. I'm at
Okay,
capacity.
Vanessa says that she'll be able to volunteer in the afternoon. I can do the morning.
Okay.
Laura, if you want to volunteer, you're welcome to do that. Same with you, since you're now an approved volunteer apparently, so.
So I'm
I am.
actually going to be.
Okay.
If you got the code, then you're approved.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think the issue there is if you're there by yourself. I mean, as long as there's other people there who, are approved, you can volunteer.
I thought the whole issue was being around children, that they wanted to do a whole vetting of people.
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
what's the difference between having her come in as a patron, as a visitor, and be around children
Right.
versus,
I don't have a problem with it. It's between you and the risk manager.
There are no children over there anyways. They're all a bunch of old people walking in and out
as
I
long
can't
as,
remember you from last year, Cesar Hernandez talking to a kid.
with his mom and his grandpa.
Anyway, that's not,
Okay.
either event, the more the merrier for volunteers.
Yeah.
We'll get you fixed volunteers.
Segue. Speaking of volunteers, so Tanya had her live scan and I know she's emailed recently and she was
we're
gonna,
waiting, I haven't seen the results yet.
Okay.
HR will let me know
Okay,
when they,
That's what you're.
fingers crossed, because she'd like to help out too.
you can, tell her to
Well,
come.
we were trying to wait for the whole process.
No, for something like this.
Well, I don't know, because she's now been told, so she's kind of waiting, so, which is okay. I think it'll all just happen the way it's supposed to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, she shouldn't stay away because.
okay. I mean, I did until, yeah,
No.
okay.
I mean, volunteer is like an official volunteer capacity. She's she's a volunteer helper.
Hey,
Okay.
okay.
So the only,
So we're squared, I think we're all squared away on this, right?
The walkthrough, check for sprinklers.
oh, you want to official walkthrough? Oh, you got that Saturday at 10.
We're out, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I think
But the only thing I do need to make a motion on is that the research room is now being an in-house storage room, because we're going to move all those tiles and other things into that space until it's been storing all the Henry Burke posters and everything like that.
Do we need that motion right now?
Oh, and I have one more question about the event. Is there a time certain when the president pro tem will be making his proclamation?
10:30.
At 10:30.
10:30.
Okay, so if you want to meet the it's not called a president pro tem, what's it called?
Mayor pro tem.
Mayor pro tem. You can be there at 10:30, right?
That's what,
And have your picture taken with them and, right?
that's Well, if I guess you could.
For a $10 donation.
Yeah.
$20 donation?
I will leave that to you to discuss with the city manager about how to go about doing that.
But you know that he'll be there at 10:30.
He told me yesterday that he shook his head when I said,
So we can add that to the flyer?
that has, yeah. Yeah, I asked him yesterday, I told him yesterday when we were at the meeting.
I mean, because the more things that we can advertise, the more likely it is you're gonna have a crowd, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we can advertise him being there at 10:30 and we can advertise Little Debbie's.
Right.
Who's gonna stay away?
Who can resist Little Debbie? Nobody.
Moving on.
You know what I mean.
Okay.
I don't want to be wasteful.
Okay.
Anything else on the city birthday party?
No.
Okay, so you're going to bring the bunting, Mr. Commissioner Cullen,
I will set it up and
and you're going to bring the
How are you
Little
gonna attach
Debbie-
it?
those plastic wire things like we did at the last
Ziplocs?
Caesar Hernandez.
The zip ties?
He wasn't here last Caesar Hernandez, so.
Oh, you are? It was nice. You'll like it.
Okay. Anything else on the city birthday?
No.
Going once?
No.
Going twice? Any public comment on the city birthday?
There are no public comments at this time.
Okay, so we receive and file the report on the city birthday. Motion? What?
Does the city have any nonprofit performing arts groups?
Great question.
Yes,
They're all nonprofit.
they're all nonprofit. So like the easels we get from one of the nonprofits that we're,
Performing arts groups.
oh, there's nothing.
Is there a choir or anyone who could sing some patriotic songs?
Back again.
No. You hire some
The high
mariachis
school has
from
a marching
that
band,
club in East LA.
right? Right?
I'm sure you'd have to get them way in advance.
That would, yeah,
That would be amazing.
having a school there would be terrific.
Like a marching band or, yeah.
Next year.
Yeah,
Next
right.
year.
Okay. Anything else on the city birthday?
I hope you get the fire truck.
Okay, so can I get a motion to receive and refile whatever we just did on?
So motioned.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and we asked for public comment that there was none, so all those in favor of receiving and filing the city birthday report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're done with that item. What do we have left? J3,
So I just want to make sure, because I have to report back to Cameron about the resources that we're going to make available for this. I'm going to open, and I'm going to be there this Saturday to help you get the place ready. We won't need any additional staff the actual day of the event. You don't need a sound system, you don't need tables, you don't need chairs. But I'm going to buy some refreshments. Is there anything else that you're expecting from the department?
So again, if,
The advertising.
sure, so yes, if I hear back from these nonprofits and they don't have their tables and chairs, may I just reach out to you via
Yes.
email as soon as possible?
Yeah.
I will do that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Are there outside trash cans already in the area? Because if you're bringing paper goods and
That's a
plastic bottles,
good question.
might we need maybe an hour
Trash
cleaning
cans.
crew to come at the end of the
There are
event?
waste receptacles in Heritage Court.
There are.
Surrounded, yeah, they've got the green metal, slats that surround the trash cans. They're there.
Are there recycle bins? Are there recycle bins? Because if you're bringing water bottles, you need to have recycle bins.
I mean, all of the trash cans in Redondo say that it gets recycled later, right? Anyone I've seen that's what they say.
Just, thinking you don't want to be bringing trash and bottles unless we have someplace to put them.
maybe somebody can reach out to Athens, because there would be a good sponsor as well and probably have a community table. And I don't know when they're having their waste, e-waste thing, but they may want to publicize that. They do that at the Performing Arts Center.
What,
They have a whole hazardous waste roundup.
Athens does it or the city?
I think it's a combination of both. But there's this person in Public Works that deals with the roundups, and maybe they want to participate in it so they can get the word out. Okay, can we move on to the next item? And this is the one that has prompted item J3. My question is to Mr. Margolis, what do you perceive your role is with regards to this item? What do you perceive your role would be in this, in dealing with this item? I saw your excellent PowerPoint presentation yesterday.
What is J3?
J3 is discussion, referral, how the city can best honor the people and their contributions to cause symbolized by Pride and Juneteenth celebration, and how the city can best educate the general public about those individuals and their services to their causes.
So I agree with you. We have to hire a consultant to do that.
Okay, great. So your role is to find the consultant. I don't know how you did the stuff with the flags. Did you have somebody help you with it, or is that something that was
No,
done?
I did that, but finding a flag online is, I mean, none of you are interested in doing that?
I didn't say we were not interested. We may not be qualified to do it.
To find, you're as qualified to find a consultant as I am.
Okay. No?
I mean, I will do it. It's how quickly do you want it to get done?
Well, this has to be done by June, so
No.
no, I thought that was the whole point of having the education event in June during Pride Month.
No, it's not going to be
Well,
done.
maybe you should start off by, since I didn't go to all these meetings where it's set up, and I didn't talk to the council or the community service, why don't you tell us what exactly the council is looking for from us? I think that's in your report. But if you can go ahead and tell us.
So they were having a discussion about Pride Month and Juneteenth. And they directed the Historic Commission to put together those stories that are based in Redondo Beach about those two communities of which we should be proud. I mean, it seems like at some point you would want to have exhibits at the museum or some kind of collection, about the history of various community groups. So, I mean, I think it goes along with your collecting mission that you would want to, know these stories and document them. The problem is, you don't have staff to do it. You don't have.
So what exactly is the council looking for us to do?
That's a great question. I can't interpret it any better than the way it sounded is they expect you to do the research and dig up the information. That's what it sounded like to me.
Because we don't have real jobs.
Well, first of all, one in your report, it says the historical and library commissions. So have you talked to the library director or anything
No,
about what they're
I
doing?
assume that their liaison is doing that,
Okay.
right?
Who's their liaison?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, isn't there a library commission?
Yes.
Okay, well, then I would assume that their boss is doing the same thing that my boss is doing, which is go to your commission and tell them to do this.
Okay. So we're not getting clear guidance on what.
So maybe we should wait until we get the two more.
Nobody knows what to do.
additional, members.
I'll let you talk in a second,
I
but
was just going to say, it would appear to me that this is a rather long-range request. I mean, June is around the corner, right? So that's not something that we're going to solve this evening.
Right.
This would be more long-term.
Actually, again, I'm looking at the report from the administrative report. It looks like they want something in the month of May to evaluate options. So I think they're targeting it as they were doing last night with the flag, that they were going to have some sort of big program or some sort of educational push in the month of June for both of these events. I don't know what that's made up of. I agree that we're probably not qualified to collect all these stories or to know where to find it unless somebody has some special insight in it. I think it's worthy of us to actually do it, even because it is a part of our history of our city, and I think it's an important part that we actually document. But I'm not clear as to.
So the recommendation is that you guys should discuss and assign to committees that will either accomplish their requests on their own or recommend plans on how to accomplish them to the community services director. So I think what the expectation is for this meeting is that whatever committees that you decide would be the appropriate ones to discuss this issue further would discuss it between now and your next meeting and come back and say, you know, we're going to do it ourselves, or we need to hire a consultant, or, you know, to come back with your recommendation in a plan. And then that plan might include what you would like to see city staff do, or how you would like to see your commission work with the library commission. And then that plan will go to Cameron, and Cameron will say, I think we can do this, you know, we can't do that. But I think that you can certainly put together a plan, right? I mean, that's not requiring you to do the research and, you know, create exhibits and things yourself. I mean, isn't that what commissions are supposed to do? Make recommendations to city council?
And as I said, my question to you initially is, what is staff's role in this? Because my understanding is staff is supposed to facilitate us accomplishing what we're trying to do. So I am kind of at a loss as to what your role, what you perceive your role to be in helping us get to the point where we can actually present to the council what they're asking us. And that's the disconnect I'm having on it. If you're telling me that you don't want a role in it, then that's fine. That's what you're perceiving your role as. If your role is, you're perceiving it as to punt it to us so that we have all the responsibility in it, I'm fine. But if we're going to have all the responsibility, I want to know what you are going to do to support our ability to do that, whether it's talking to Cameron. If we say, we think that we need a professional researcher, like on this one on the LGBTQ plus, it says identify all the accomplishments and contributions from the city's LGBTQ plus residents, past and present, which the city can be proud and should celebrate. I don't know.
All right, well,
I don't know the resources that we have that's available that will give us that information readily so that we can turn around something for in May or in June to at least say this is what we have. And maybe it's hiring a professional researcher, or my thought initially was, let's go contact the LGBTQ Center up in Los Angeles, who does have people that could assist with it. But again, I'm trying to figure out where you perceive your role as a staff person in assisting us to do that.
I have no perception of what my role would be right this minute. When you come back with your plan, I expect that you might say, Gary could help us this way or that way. But one thing that, you know, I think wouldn't be a good idea would be, you know, for me to, you know, develop a plan like I did with the strategic plan, and then, you know, it gets tabled for 5 months and, you know, never discussed. You guys need to come up with a plan that includes me some way or other, if that's what you think is best. And then if Cameron thinks that that makes sense, we'll try to make it happen. But I don't know about the research center in Los Angeles. That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, do you
I mean,
know
what do
any
your committees do?
resource, in the work that you did for yesterday's flag thing, do you have any resources that we can contact in the city right now to actually see
No,
if they can
because
come up with some ideas?
The only research that I did for that was pride flags, and I found websites, that had pictures and stories of pride flags. I didn't do research on important LGBT people in Redondo Beach, or I didn't do that research.
Okay.
And, I've lived here 6 months. I don't even know a gay person in Redondo Beach.
Okay.
Other than myself.
Okay, so we have two different projects here. One's to deal with Pride Month and one's to deal with Juneteenth. And I think they came out of two different resolutions. Is there interest from any of the commissioners to be on a subcommittee that deals with either the Pride event or the Juneteenth event?
My opinion,
Okay.
my humble opinion, is that if the J3 says recommendations to city council on how the city can best honor the people and their contributions to the causes, that, in my opinion, it would be highly disrespectful for me to think that within a month and a half, I could possibly recommend to the city how to best honor. And I would take this very seriously, and I couldn't possibly know how to do that within a month and a half, even if it was my full-time job, with due respect. And so my thought would be that my recommendation would be, this would be something that you'd want to get a consultant for, to be respectful. This is a really deep and important topics, and I wouldn't want to take it lightly. So that's my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Any thoughts, Commissioner Worstadt?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Look, these are worthy causes and they're worth recognition. I think the fact that we are short-staffed, this was kicked to us from, the council above. Again, I would love a little clarity on what they're looking for. Is it just is it a plan of, hey, we want to make sure that those individuals who live in our community are recognized appropriately. What's the best way to do that? We could put together a very simple brief. It's not going to be comprehensive or cover everything, but I think that's the best we could do with our resources that we have at hand. I'm still not clear on what they're looking for. If the whole goal is to honor individuals in our community, that have contributions to Pride and Juneteenth celebrations, what would be the best way to get the word out and learn about that stuff?
Okay. Commissioner Cullen, any thoughts?
No, I've got 2 trials coming up in the next month.
Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of options. One, and you were yesterday at the meeting from the council, so you probably have a better sense of what their response would be to one of the options, which is to tell the council, hey, we think this is a good idea and consistent with what Commissioner Zaremski says. We would like to explore it more fully, but we think a month and a half is not sufficient for us to do it. And let's start planning for 2024. And that's one option, I think. Another option would be to reach out to the Library Commission and find out where they are in the process. That could be done simultaneously, or consistent with the first thing. And the third one, which may be, we have money, let's go hire a consultant. We'll allocate money to hire a consultant. We'll figure out what to do. We'll ask staff to vet the consultant. I don't know if it needs council approval to actually hire a consultant to give us some research, but I'm sure there are consultants on both issues. I have differing thoughts about Juneteenth because we weren't even a city at that time. But I think there's a way that you can honor the thought on it, because Redondo was one of those cities that actually did have redlining, and they segregated, they had provisions in rent and real estate contracts that said no selling to blacks. So I think you can actually incorporate that into the whole process of it and bring out that history of it. But I'm looking for guidance from you all as to what you want us to do with this mandate that the council, and they haven't done much as asking us to do stuff. So I like Commissioner Zaremski's suggestion that this does need to be looked at a little bit more closely. I think that's consistent with what happened last night with the pride flags. But part of this is an education component, and we can't even publicize our city birthday very well. Or we're going to do more damage by putting something together and then not having anything happen with it. So I am looking for, go ahead.
I mean, what about something like recommending that the city post something on its website that it's looking for stories to honor at some undetermined events to happen in celebration of Juneteenth and Pride, and, if the first black doctor in Redondo Beach, or the first gay doctor, or the first, gay politician, or business, or someone who was born here and went on to become, famous for some reason. I mean, the stories that would make local Black and Pride community folks proud to be part of those communities. And that's all you need to do. That's your recommendation. Your recommendation is, we're not qualified to find these stories on our own. We don't have any money to hire a researcher. How about putting something on your website, asking people to come forward, volunteer their pictures and their stories and their whatever, and find a way to share it.
I think that's a good idea. I think if the city's willing and able to put that call out to our community, I think that is where the Historical Commission then can run with that and to help memorialize that story and those stories. And
I mean, Ron, you've done oral histories, right?
No.
So if there are...
No, I'm just thinking, following up on your thought in my head is, we could have an event at the museum where we record some of these stories, and you can open it up to the public if the person's willing to share in such a public venue, which goes back to the sound system. But I would assume that you would be able to facilitate the city through Cameron, the city putting up something on its website consistent with what you just said.
Yeah, well, I think what Cameron is probably going to say is that he'll probably ask me, this is April, so I mean, I think he'll still want a report from a committee that might just say exactly what I just said, okay, at your May meeting. And then we'll be able to create a agenda item for the commission that says, this is what they're recommending. And it might make sense to do a joint meeting in May with the library commission. I don't know if that's ever been done before, or a special meeting where this is the only thing that you discuss. And maybe what comes out of it is just, I mean, maybe the library has resources that we don't know about where they can also ask. I mean, I'm sure they have a huge mailing list. I don't know if they're legally allowed to use it for this kind of a purpose, but I would think that they could put out a flyer or I shouldn't speak for what they can do, but whatever options the city has to get the word out, and whether the stories are collected at the museum or at the libraries, and maybe you can come up with a schedule and say, you know, so this will be after your May meeting. So, I mean, it really is pushing it tight. I don't know how you can collect the stories and celebrate them in June. I just.
Well, our May event is, our May meeting is pretty late in the month, and the council's probably not even meeting at that point in time too, to take the options back to.
Yeah, I don't think this will happen for this upcoming June, but I'm happy to meet with Gary and put together at least this would be a half a page request that we could then present to the council saying, if you put out a call for stories of individuals within our community that have those stories. And then we could record oral histories from them. And what we do with that after that is, that's up for discussion, but at least it's something.
Would you be willing to go to the Library Commission meeting on Monday, May 1st and talk to them as well?
Is that their next meeting?
The next meeting on May 1st. Which is before the council meeting on, I thought the next council meeting was on the 6th, but I guess it's the 2nd. Because we really do need, they have all the research librarians over there that are pretty good at finding all sorts of interesting things in the city's history. But were you willing to?
Well, I think what would probably be helpful would be if, I like the idea of going to their meeting and then saying, we met last week or 2 weeks ago, and we believe that given your resources of A, B, C, and D, and our resources of, and this is what, you should either decide tonight or, well, tonight, I guess, of being able to conduct oral histories or allocating a space in our museum specifically for this purpose in the month of June or, going forward, we would be happy to host a rotating exhibit if these things are created. To say, this is, given our limited resources right now, this is how we think we could contribute to this city council goal, right? We have no money, we have no researchers. The only thing we have is a museum and an ability to do oral histories, right? I mean, if there are other things, mention them now and then go to their meeting and say, this is what we have to offer, pony up, and what can we do, right? That's the best you can do, right?
Right. We could barely get together a city 131st birthday party,
Right. But I think it's.
I can go on Monday. It's up to you.
I don't know if I can make it on Monday.
Okay, I've already put a request into the librarian for something else, so I don't have a problem adding that to my list of going to tell them. Okay, so I like the way you phrased that, Gary, and hopefully somehow we can capture that again on what you suggested. And what I would need before May 1st is, and hopefully our video will be uploaded that I can actually transcribe that part of it, but take what you said and incorporate that and then go to the library commission.
Okay, well, it's available on YouTube immediately, so I'll transcribe.
I couldn't find this last meeting on YouTube at all, yeah.
Oh, well, the city council meetings are, maybe these aren't, I don't.
No, this is on YouTube too, but we've had YouTube glitches for the last couple of meetings.
Okay.
But I'll go listen to it again and.
So you want me to try to transcribe what I just said and give it to you, and you're going to go to the May meeting?
I'll go to the May meeting.
Okay, I'll go with you.
But I'm actually going to ask the commission to.
What day of the week is that?
It's May 1st.
What day of the week is it?
Monday. I want to ask the commission to entertain a motion to do exactly what you said. That's one of the reasons I want to transcribe. And then we'll vote on that as far as that goes.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you making the motion?
So motioned.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any public discussion?
There's one comment from Anthony Trutanich.
Oh,
So start with Mike Ginn.
okay. I think that's what you said too.
What?
I think that's what you said too.
What?
Start with Mike Chin.
Start with Mike Ginn what?
A gay, or a history of prominent gay leaders or, right? I mean.
Okay, well, okay, so,
He was one of the people that signed the document opposing the, last,
Yeah, Prop 8? Yeah.
no, the Pride Flag Project.
He did?
He opposed it? Oh, okay, well, he's Republican. He ran for Congress. You know, what do you
I thought he was-
expect?
it doesn't matter what his political affiliation is, but, okay, so I didn't know that. But in any event, we have our motion, our resolution, which is going to be what Gary said, because he did it so well. And there's been a second, and there's been public comment, and is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's what our marching orders. If you can, I'll take a look and see how soon I can actually get a copy of the audio recording. If I can't, then I may need you to try to,
Get a hold of the what?
the recording of this
Oh, okay.
meeting, because,
And I'll see if I can meet with their liaison
okay.
ahead of time.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's going to be on their agenda. It's too early for us to know what their agenda is.
Well, if it was on our agenda, they had more time, right? Should be on theirs.
Well, it may not be on the radar, even though it is library week. So, great. So we're moving off from J3 to J4. And J4 is discussion and possible referral to committees of the following topics: the Historical Library, agreement with the Historical Society to operate the Morale House, a path of history marker somewhere near the new transit center, and I think the bathroom is part of this too. So,
It is?
well, let's put it this way. This has many pieces to it, and we had voted in December and in January to add things to our meeting discussion. This is the way that we're dealing with those topics. So I think we need to break it up into pieces on it. Start with historic library. If you recall in our December meeting, this was an item that Commissioner Klinger had brought up. He wanted to explore doing something. And one of the reasons that it's on this agenda, and Mr. Margolis could speak to it, is you had wanted us to consider seeing if we can convert that space into something other than a wedding place. And I know in the public arts meeting in January, you made a point saying that both public arts and us need to step up and do something about it. So as far as I can tell from my emails with Cameron, nothing really has been firmly decided. So this is an opportunity for us to step up and do something if we want the space for something other than a catering facility. So maybe you should share with us what you know is the latest and what you would envision us, without actually telling us what we should be envisioning, what you think, how you think it would play out. Because I think we do need a visual arts place in the city, and this is a question of how we work it.
Well, I'm much too new here to really know what city council's likelihood of doing this or that, is. I can say, as far as the status of the RFP right now, Kelly is working on bringing back a recommendation to city council, and I think it'll happen pretty soon. And it'll be to, I think, approve an agreement with one of the folks that submitted, that responded to the proposal. And I don't know, when we did the dedication of the marker at the stairs, I had an opportunity to talk with the mayor and sort of updated him what was going on. And he seemed to express the opinion that he really wanted to see the building have more of a arts focus. And he asked me about the marketing that was done, to Los Angeles groups, to get them to respond to it. And so I told him what I had done, and it was minimal. And he was like, I'm going to get on the phone and call the Getty today. And so it might be that council says, go back and do it again. We're not, we said we don't want a caterer. Start over and see if you can, do more aggressive marketing, or they could say, the building's been vacant long enough. We needed to start making money. You probably know them individually a lot better than I do what, they would say. What I have said to you and what I have said to the Public Art Commission is that if a proposal could be developed that would accomplish their goals of creating a space that was more accessible to folks who live here and gave them an opportunity to learn about their history and an experience in the arts, and it wouldn't require too much subsidy, and I don't know what too much means, but I would think that the benefits of providing a community-based arts and history visitor center, those kinds of cultural venues that the city doesn't have, as far as I can tell, right, yet, would be worth a certain level of subsidy. A nonprofit is not going to be able to operate that building, at a profit and return money back to the city. It would require a certain level of subsidy.
Okay. So has Public Arts expressed an interest to continue this dream? Because we do need a visual arts center in the city.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be them. You would have to find a nonprofit, so it would be maybe like Friends of the Arts. But even them, as far as what I understand, you need a nonprofit that actually does arts programming.
Right.
So I'm thinking that you really ideally would bring in, someone from Los Angeles, or, that wanted to expand. Well, we are Los Angeles County, right? So an arts organization that is ready to open a satellite, or probably multiple arts organizations.
The Getty, right? I mean, Pacific Palisades,
Well, that's what the mayor said, the Getty. Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is more, are they willing to go with us as a partner in developing and researching and coming up with this proposal? Or is this something that we would end up doing on our own as a commission?
I don't recall them discussing it as much as you have.
Okay, because it was in the January minutes from that meeting that they had, that you had actually made the comment, and that's what prompted me to push Cameron to put this on the agenda, because it seems like we're in a window where if we come up with something, we can actually may be able to effectuate the change necessary to open it up to the public for as a visual arts and history location. And to include having a coffee shop in there and or a gift store, which can make revenue. So I know we need to search for an operator, but do we have a partner in that process from Public Arts that they're willing to work with us?
Well, I think the best strategy at this point isn't, just like you have difficulty yourselves, like implementing a birthday party or doing research, right? I mean, it's like you guys can't, I don't think there can be an expectation that you're going to be able to program or that the public art, is going to be able to program. I think the best that commissions can do is advocate and recommend to city council. I mean, that's why you're here. That's your job. I would think that there would be no problem with the Public Art Commission signing on to a document or a resolution or a recommendation that says, we continue to advocate to the city council that they look for operators that are going to accomplish the goals that they identified, right? And not allow the building to become again a catering hall, right? Then it becomes up to city council to they'll probably go back to community service or someone and says, okay, come up with a better plan, right? You tried once, you didn't get the kind of response we were hoping you'd get. You're going to have to do more marketing, or you're going to have to do, figure out what you have to do to attract the kind of operators that we want.
Okay. I'm of the opinion that me as a citizen on my own can actually move the mountain if I need to, if I put my energy into it. I think it's more effective if, as a commission, we move the mountain. And if we have public arts, we have a larger group moving the mountain. So I'm willing to take, and my wife's going to kill me for saying this, I'm willing to take the time to actually push this through. I would like to have colleagues work with me on it. I'd like to have public arts come on board as well, the Friends of Redondo Art, because my vision.
Well, look what happened yesterday. Basically, that agenda item to do a competition that would invite school kids and other local people to design a pride flag, right, that was only going to be used for 1 year, right, got defeated basically because 16 people from the LGBT community signed a letter saying, don't do this. So if 16 people who weren't even appointed by the mayor and the city council could move the mountain, why couldn't 5 plus 7, 12, plus all of the people in the Friends of the Arts and all of the people in the Historical Society, if you got just those 4 groups to sign a letter that says, I guess you're going to have to wait and see what the recommendation is,
We don't have to wait. We can do it right away. I mean,
yeah, but yes, I agree. One person could, 12 people is better. 22 people is better than that.
And what,
It seems to not take very many people to,
well, the thing that I think you bring to the table that many people in the city may not know is you have a ton of experience dealing with these kind of things in your previous employment. So I think getting, we talk about people that we need to bring in as consultant. Obviously, you've seen this in the forest, you've done things, you have an idea of it, and we would love to be able to tap into your vision of how this would play out. I mean, I have my own view of it. I would think 50% to the history, 50% to the visual arts, and a little bit of a gift shop over there, kind of like you see in some of the other cities, but.
well, a visitor center.
What?
Does Redondo Beach have a visitor center?
I don't think we used to have one time.
No, we took their money away.
I mean,
We didn't, the council did.
wouldn't the historic library be a great place for
No.
a visitor center? What?
Yeah, they used to allocate, what, 750,000?
800,000. And they have a fund that deals with that stuff as well. One of the ideas that I'm actually exploring now is mini museums that are just like outdoor mini museums in different sections of the city. And I'll come to this group with that concept at some point. But I would love to be able to do that, and I'd love to be able to have the support of this commission with the effort to at least try to get a visual arts / history museum in the old library.
Well, and it doesn't have to be just visual arts either, because while we have a performing arts center, it's basically not for local people to do anything there. It's a rental facility. Right. It's not like, we have only one nonprofit that performs there on a regular basis, Encore South Bay, and then the LA Ballet. But it's not like our local theater groups, which we don't, evidently there used to be a playhouse here, and there used to be the Civic Light Opera, and there what?
At Perry Park, that center with the
teen center.
Yeah, the teen center used to be a local community theater in there.
Well, there was also a playhouse, right?
Yeah, over Franklin Park had one too.
So, there's, from what I can tell, Redondo Beach is dying for the arts. There just isn't much here.
Okay.
And,
well,
I'm
willing to spend the time and effort to push it. I don't know if any of you are willing to. I want to ask you to volunteer, but I want to know if there's a sense of this commission that it's something worthy that we should be advocating, and if ultimately we need to sign a letter saying this is what we want, and you guys would be willing to do that. So, any thoughts?
Think about it.
What?
I need to think about it.
Okay.
I really liked what you said. I think it's a wonderful,
another transcription.
It's a lovely facility, and it's really,
It's a court reporter
really
for you,
large, and it's got a great view of the ocean. And I would imagine that you need to have bigger outreach to see who might be interested.
I guess they approved the agreement with California 101, right? They're going to do the exhibit there again, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Are they going to pay any rent?
I didn't see the
They
agreement.
didn't pay any rent last time either, but they do bring a lot of people into the
Get people
community.
going to see what we have to offer.
Okay, so any thoughts on this end of the dais?
Is there a way for us to see the space?
Yeah, I think Kelly has access to
Okay,
it. If you
great.
send her an email and ask
I'll
her to.
reach out to Kelly directly. Thank you.
Okay,
One size fits all.
you'll get another key for that
That's a
building too.
We'll need the code for that door.
Any thoughts before I make a motion?
No.
No.
Okay, so the motion I would like to propose is that the sense of this commission is to advocate the use of the old library, historic library, for visual arts and a history museum. And it's a sense of the commission. It's not a commitment of the commission.
Could you say that again,
Well,
please?
how, could you make it a little bit broader and say, use it as a arts and culture center?
Okay, Arts and Culture Center sounds even better.
You can add history to it. You could say arts, culture, and history.
Arts, history, and culture. Because history comes before culture, anyway. Okay, so that, I'll take that as a friendly amendment, even though you're not proposing it. I'm proposing it, and we had no second, so can I get a second?
You know, that's not going to be a moneymaker for the city.
Right.
We'll have to, that's one of the issues we'll have to work out, and that's one of the issues I'm committed to see if that happens or not. It may not be a moneymaker. It may be that we end up getting grants from other arts organizations. For example, there's lots of foundations that contribute money to different museums. We may even be able to get some seed money, for example, from like, I don't know, I'll throw out the Huntington or the Getty. Maybe they'll, you know, maybe there are special funds that set up to actually help museums get off the ground. So it's something to be exploring, but I just want to, my motion is to get a sense of this committee that they're in favor of us advocating for the use of the historical library as an arts and history cultural center.
I mean, Steve, to your point, I mean, isn't the role of government to provide those goods and services that the free market doesn't provide? Why does the building have to be a moneymaker for the city? If arts and culture are values that the city has, and I'm not saying that it does, but if they are, like a lot of cities value arts and culture, and so they invest in facilities so that their residents have those opportunities to develop and grow and have their communities be more vibrant by having them there.
Well, after that building went from being used as the main library, the council made a decision that they wanted it to be a moneymaker, to pay for itself. And that was the direction over the years for that, for the use of that building. And I don't know if the current council, you know, has steered from that, you know,
Right. So that was what, 20 or 30 years ago or?
whatever it was, yeah.
Right. So, I mean.
The only thing you do is ask them, and if they say no, they say no.
And maybe there wasn't a demand for arts and culture then. Maybe there's not a demand. Maybe Los Angeles provides enough for Redondo Beach residents and nobody's asking for it.
Right.
And maybe that's hey, we don't need to do this because there's no demand for it.
Yeah.
But,
Right, you go on to Gold Star and I mean, you have all these local community theaters, you know, La Mirada, Carpenter Center down in, you know, Long Beach State. You go up to, you know, Pasadena, the Pasadena Playhouse. It seems as if you, whatever you want is there. You want to drive. I don't know that
so
we can fill that void.
yeah,
Well,
maybe there's not
I
a
would
need
think
for
we
it.
shouldn't, I would not assume that the current council agrees with a council 20 or 30 years ago who was interested in making a profit. I mean, that's a good question to ask.
And it's also dependent on the finance of the city, but
Right.
so you look at our historical museum, it's not making a profit. It's not even getting, you know, $100 of donations on a regular basis. So
Well, that's because the bathroom isn't open. Nobody's going in there.
And so perhaps.
Anyway,
So
that was my
you know,
motion.
The motion is to look at.
Oh, and the libraries. Libraries don't make money,
Yeah, well,
do they? Maybe
No.
they do.
Well, if you're
yeah,
late,
they don't
turning
charge
the book
fines
in.
anymore, so. But anyway, that's my motion. If anyone wants to second it, that will be great. If not, then we'll move on to the next part of
Second.
it. Okay, there's a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Tony, back on?
Public comments at this time.
No
They're all
public comment?
sleeping.
Okay, so all those in favor of having a sense of the commission to advocate for the use of the historical library as an arts, history, and cultural center, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, then that passes, and if anybody wants to work with me, I'm more than willing to work with you as well, and I will be contacting you to get some further ideas, because you've worked with it, and you're going to contact Kelly to look at the space. Okay, and I think there's some pictures on the website with the floor layout in the old minutes. Okay, so that brings us to the second part of this one. Agreement with the Historical Society to operate the Morel House. Steve, this was your item to put it on, so go to it.
Okay, so I sent a public records request to the clerk's office to get a copy of the agreement, the lease agreement with the Historical Society. And the reason why I did that was because we had a prior discussion where we were talking about, the fence and the plan, and whether in order to do anything, we needed the consent of the Historical Society. And so I requested the lease, and I think, Gary, you sent it to me. And then I did the request, and I got some additional documents, and pretty much based on the lease agreement, the society is only dealing with the Morel House and nothing else in Heritage Court. So we don't need to get special permission from the society to do things at the court. But I did notice that it seemed as though the lease agreement had ended back in 2022, and there was a letter sent to the society, or to Linda Ost of the Historical Society, indicating whether they desired to extend the lease agreement with the city. And I saw that there was a letter from Christian Kelly of the Historical Society saying, yes, they would like to extend the current lease on the Morel House. And I was also a little bit concerned about whether there was insurance on the house. And I think they have now provided the different declarations pages that show that they did secure insurance on the house. So that was pretty much, my intent was to make sure that we could make changes or recommend changes at Heritage Court and not have to worry about getting the Historical Society involved in that. And other than that, this is just a receive and file, type item.
And I think that's technically true, but just like, if you wanted to do something at Heritage Court, somebody is going to say, whether it's city council or Cameron or someone else, well, what was the input from the Parks Commission, right? I mean, when council perceives these spaces as being shared, right, you can come to them with a recommendation and say, rebuild the trellises, right? But they're going to come back and say, well, what does the Historical Society say, and what does Parks say? So you're right, you're not legally required to get anyone else's permission, but government always likes to see as broad a agreement on these things by the groups that use the space.
Right. Oh, and I did see in the agreement that the society was responsible for the heating within the building itself, the Morel House. So wasn't there a problem where it wasn't open because there was a heating problem?
I saw that too, and I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, right, up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I noticed that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, I mean, we don't have to take any action unless we just, receive and file it.
Although, yeah, I'm not I would imagine that over the years, the practice has been for them to ask to go to the city first and say, will you do a repair, right? Because it's a building that's owned by the city. So, does the city really want them hiring anybody, to redo the heat or to do the this or that or the other, right? Wouldn't they they're kind of like the landlord, right? So wouldn't they want to be consulted on those things first?
Yeah, especially if they're obligated to pay for it, right? Reimburse the city.
If the society is obligated.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be interesting,
Okay, so now that we have the documents from the clerk's office pursuant to the public records request, maybe we just do a motion to receive and file it. Have
I had
all
a
of the
couple
all of the
questions.
documents. Okay.
So one of the things, and I don't think I heard it when you were saying this, is I thought one of the provisions were that, like, if the city council person from District 3 wanted to use it as a meeting location, they could. Do you know what the limitations or how that council person would be able to access it? Or whether, like, a community group wanted to use that for community meeting, how they would access the space?
I don't know how they would access it, but in the lease agreement, it does say that the District 3 council person can hold their district meetings there. I would hope that, that would happen rather than these virtual meetings on Zoom where, everybody stays home in their pajamas. I mean, get the community out in the building now. We used to do that. There used to be a modular building there years back, and that's where I would hold my district, meetings. But the building's gone now. But I mean, that's the perfect place to hold.
My sense is that just like you guys really would like the museum to be open as much as possible, the Historical Society really would like, the Morel House to be open as much as possible, but they are volunteers and possibly have jobs, and are in the same boat, that you guys are. From my experience, when they've been contacted to open the house for one reason or the other, because somebody wanted to see it or a tour, they've done it. And you're going to contact them about the 29th, right? Yeah. I mean, so I think to the extent possible that they're saying yes as much as they can.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be nice once we get better staffed and the museum is open on a more regular basis, maybe we can get the society to open up the Morale House so that jointly,
get the society to agree that whoever is working at the museum can get into that and do a tour of the whole Heritage Court, right? That includes the Morel House and the museum, and our historic sculpture garden.
Actually, one of the ideas I'm going to come to Public Arts with is to have a sculpture garden over in Zoolander Park. Because the other cities do it, but I'll be coming to you guys separately on that. I had additional questions. Is there a requirement for them to be open a certain number of days in a year?
I don't remember that being spelled out in the lease agreement.
Okay. Okay. So there's been a motion to receive and file this report unless there's other comments.
Second.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Any public comment?
No public comments at this time.
Okay. So the motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay. This is a good time to talk about the bathroom. You had a question or comment about that?
I thought we had discussed this.
Well, I think Cameron has made an administrative decision that if someone asks to use the bathroom, you have to let them use it.
Okay. I'm good with that, I just don't want old people having problems when they get there.
Or young people.
Or young people, right.
You can't
I mean,
discriminate.
you don't have to.
Okay, but
You don't have to, I guess, advertise that you have one, but if I mean, Cameron, made the example of if he was there with his son, and he needed, you have to let, if someone asks, you got to let him use it.
Yeah, okay.
as I said, it's in between two restricted spaces. So somebody who's ever going to be there has to monitor, make sure the person is able to get in and out without getting hurt. Okay. Then we move on to the last item on this is the path of history marker somewhere near the new transit center. So the red line car has already been an approved path of history marker. The proposal We had talked about having a sculpture of a red car at the transit center, and that's been passed on to Public Arts at this point. But it seems that if we're going to have a sculpture of a red car, a transit center is a great place to put a red car path of history marker and convey it. So you have in your materials a little information that Mr. Margolis put together with regards to the red car itself. And the proposal is to just recommend to the council to have a marker at that transit center site.
A marker or the,
The sculpture has already been approved by this commission and sent on to Public Arts. This is if we're going to have a sculpture in there or some sort, the transit center would be a great location to do that. And the thought process was if there's funds for any kind of information from the city, that they could take care of paying for the path of history marker over there.
Or that becomes a budget request.
What?
Budget request.
Well, I know, like, for example, with that place over by, on Flagler and Ripley, there was money set aside for public arts projects. And I believe it's the same with the transit center, that big sculpture that they were going to put up there that they've decided to move. But there may be still funding for something over at the transit center. So the thought was, well, if they can put up that with that funding, that they can include a path of history marker, which is a very small portion of those funds. All it's doing is telling the council we would like.
You mean to use the public art fund for that purpose?
No, it's, well,
A different fund?
technically, if the.
Oh, I
money-
think I know what you mean. Okay, yeah.
If the transit, I used to be RTD, I don't know what they call themselves now, has money that they were going to put something
Yeah.
in there that we would like a path of history marker
Right,
in
there
there.
was going to be additional money. Yeah.
So that was the whole point of that. And that was my request, is that we ask the council if they consider the sculpture to also include a path of history marker there too. So that's my motion. Can I get a second?
a second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Do you have any idea where it would go? Do you have a recommend? I mean, because they basically moved the public art piece to the parking lot.
Did they?
They did.
That's why they decided not to use the one that they approved, because it wasn't in a nice place.
Did they approve the sculpture piece yet?
A relocation for the original piece, for the gateway piece?
Did they come up with a new concept? Okay,
No.
so that's still before them with regards to, it could be that red car that the sculpture that you found from the guy who did our
Well,
sales.
it can't be that exact piece, but
Yeah, it would be with Redondo on it and probably.
it could be
a
the
little bigger.
caboose.
And a different color, who knows? But it would probably be close by to that so that somebody can enjoy the sculpture, and then
Yeah,
that's going to be the
maybe.
council's call on it ultimately. But it's all it's saying is if they like putting a red car thing in there, sculpture in there, that we have a red car historical sign with it. So this has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's going to the council then. I assume it'll be tied in with whenever the sculpture piece gets referred up to that as well.
I'll have to ask Cameron how he wants to handle it. Because it might be a long time before.
Well, as long as it's not a decade like we had with the other path of history signs, we're fine.
Okay.
And maybe that I'll get funding from some other source to move it someplace else, but in the meantime, that's fine. Okay, so now we move on to member items and referrals to staff. And I believe Commissioner Fernandez, you have one item.
Yes. The Redondo Beach Library will be hosting a local author that's written about Captain Charles Farr. she's going to be giving a talk. There's no date yet on when that's going to happen, but she wrote a book about it. And it's a very interesting story, the story of Bethel Mission of San Pedro Bay and Captain Charles Farr, who was a local known figure at the time. And there's interesting anecdotes about him and his life and his going on around the area. So it's worth checking out, but we don't have a date as of yet, but that'll be at the Redondo Beach Library.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Commissioner Cullen?
Nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Worstadt? Commissioner Zaremski? Okay, I have a couple of things. We voted at a meeting, I want to say it was November, December, that we were going to keep the name Redondo Historical Museum. As Public Works looked at getting the uniformity in the sign or the city websites, is there any update on that?
Well, that has to go to council, right? Council has to direct that to happen. Right?
Direct all the signs to,
Yeah,
the name
because-
hasn't changed. It's
Well, no, but actually, you know what I found out is that when the Historic Preservation Commission designated that building historic, it was named the Queen Anne Museum. That's its official name. So we would have to get the Historic Preservation Commission to recommend changing the name, and it has to go to city council.
okay, can you send me whatever you looked at so that I can at least do the research on my end?
Where did I see that? Because I talked to their liaison, Stacy. Oh, it was when the fire department did their inspections and they want to install Knox boxes on the, okay. So Stacy told me that.
Stacy
Kinsella.
Kinsella? Okay, I'll give her a call.
And because she sent, I think she sent me a link, I think, to the meeting when it happened, but there's no administrative report, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
So
well,
just like minutes or something.
well, hopefully she can find it again, so we can take the steps needed, and I'll probably end up going to the Preservation Commission, which is sometime next week. Okay, then the lightning racer marker, which is what we had our Ms. Coopery come to the meeting about. So just to give all of you an update, we ended up finding a location in that same general area. They had to order 2 posts because they were scratched up, and I don't know where we are with the process, and I have not heard back from Mr. Klein other than he'll tell me when it gets there. So,
Does the sign still exist?
yeah, they found it in the, I think you were copied on one of the emails.
And why was it taken off the chain link fence?
I think it had something to do with the, that party that they have over there in Seaside Lagoon.
A music fest.
Yeah, that one. So I think it had something to do with that, and we actually talked about finding a location that may not run into the same problem again. But they have to get 2 posts, because it's a horizontal sign as opposed to a vertical sign. And the posts that we had were scratched, so they wanted to do it differently. But it'll be installed when it's installed. We didn't ask for a hard show of it, or ultimately.
So did Mike say the site that you guys picked was okay?
Yeah.
See, I didn't see any of that. So we're just waiting then for new posts?
New posts and Public Works installing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's, as soon as that's done, I think I copied you with the email I sent him today, asking for an update, but I'll double check on that. Then also you should have on your calendars at some point, we're going to do that Ito Park dedication. You all are invited to come to that. Again, the plaque has been completed. It's just now a question of Public Works actually creating the concrete block and putting it in the ground. And then we'll have all the city dignitaries coming over there, as well as the Ito family coming over to that. And I think that's, oh, I do have a couple more things. Sorry. Nope, that's it for me. Do you have anything you want to add to our discussion?
I've added enough.
Okay. Then,
I've probably added too much.
then I think we are done with the member items, and now we're up to adjournment. The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Historical Commission will be a regular meeting at 7 p.m. on May 17th, 2023, in the Redondo Beach City Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California. The intention of the city of Redondo Beach to comply with the Americans with Disability Acts in all respect. If as an attendee or as a participant at the meeting, you will need special assistance beyond what is normally provided, the city will attempt to accommodate you in every reasonable manner. Please contact the city clerk's office at 310-318-0656 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to inform us of particular needs and to determine if an accommodation is feasible. Please advise us at that time if you'll need accommodations to attend or to participate at meetings on a regular basis. Do we have any public comment on this last one?
No, sir. No
Okay.
comments at this time.
So can I get a motion to adjourn?
No motions.
Okay, Commissioner Fernandez. And is there a second?
Okay.
Commissioner Orsted, okay. So it's been moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. So we're adjourned at about 10:24 p.m. Thank you all for attending, and thank you the public for watching.
Artwork that was put into it.